the Town of Aurora Committee of Adjustment meeting for Thursday, July the 14th, 2022. So I will call this meeting to order. And I would like to first start by saying that we would like to start by acknowledging that the land on which we live and work is the traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe and many other nations, whose presence here continues to this date. As a municipality, Aurora has shared responsibility for the stewardship of this land. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923, a shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and of how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together in a better future. Let me also start by introducing the members of the committee and staff. I am the committee chair, and my name is Tom Plamondon. The remaining members are as follows. The vice chair is Daniel Lajeunesse, Steve D'Angeli, Linda Deringer, and David Mango. The secretary treasurer, soon to be appointed, would be Peter Fan. The planner this evening joining us is Sean Lapina. And we also have an observer and planner, Prashanthi Manoharan. The council committee coordinator is Linda Bottas. This is a public meeting and it is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available through town staff. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application or applications, and then the applicant or agent will be given an opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Presentations and deputations are limited to 5 minutes as much as possible. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the secretary treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form available through the secretary treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and that they will not be noted in any manner or at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentation shall be made. If you require any technical assistance with your presentation, please let me know. If you wish to speak and are currently following this meeting on the YouTube feed, you will need to turn this feed off and join the live meeting, as there is a slight lag between the YouTube feed and the live feed. I remind everyone to please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any question or comment should the committee feel that it is appropriate. Now, before we move to approval of the agenda, we have some housekeeping to do, as Prashanthi Manoharan is no longer Secretary Treasurer. We do have the pleasure of having Peter Fan join the committee as Secretary Treasurer, and I will need a motion from a member of the committee to appoint and confirm Peter Fan as the new Secretary Treasurer. So let me go to members of the committee, and I'll ask for a motion. Daniel, I see your hand up there. Go right ahead.
Through you, the chair, I move that we appoint and affirm Peter Fan as the, sorry, I'm having a brain fart.
Secretary Treasurer.
Secretary Treasurer. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
And I'll look to the committee for a seconder. Linda, I see your hand up. Thank you very much. And so calling the question on the motion, all in favor? And that carries unanimously. Peter, welcome. And we look forward to your input moving forward with this meeting and many others to come. So welcome. Moving forward, I'll look to the committee for an approval of the agenda. David, please go ahead. And you'll have to unmute your mic, David.
Okay, sorry about that. Through the chair, I move that the agenda as circulated be approved.
Thank you very much. Seconder, please. Stephen, thank you very much. All in favor of the agenda as circulated. All right, thank you. That carries. I'll ask members of the committee, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? All good. Terrific. Thank you very much. So I'll ask again, item 6 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of our meeting June the 9th, 2022, and that's meeting number 22-06. I'll look to the members of the committee for approval. And Linda, I see your hand there. Please go right ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I move that the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting June 9th, meeting number 22-06, be adopted as circulated.
Thank you very much. Seconder, please. Stephen, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Daniel, you were here, so you were absent. So we'll note that Daniel did not attend that meeting, and so that carries regardless. We have enough people here. Okay, moving on to the presentation of applications. So the first application this evening is David Small Designs for number 3 Hawthorne Lane. This is minor variance 2022-19. The applicant is requesting relief from the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the development of a new addition, 1- and 2-story to an existing single detached dwelling. The following relief from the requirements of the town's zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended is requested. A, Section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3 meters. The applicant is proposing a 2-story addition, which is 1.5 meters to the interior side property line. And B, Section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum exterior side yard setback of 9 meters. The applicant is proposing a 1-story addition, which is 5.1 meters to the exterior side property line. So planning comments received with regards to the official plan. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed minor variance is to permit a use allowed for through this designation, two-story single detached dwelling, meets the applicable policies and maintains the general intent of and purpose of the official plan. Therefore, the planning staff, it is the opinion of planning staff that the proposed variances maintains the general intent of the official plan. With regard to the general intent of the zoning bylaw, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the intent of the zoning bylaw and that they will not result in any conflicts as it relates to building separation, nor will it impact the enjoyment of side yard amenity areas with any surrounding property. With regards to the appropriate development and use of the land, both reduced side yard setbacks to the east and west will not impede existing access along either side yard, access to the rear yard, or future maintenance along both side yards. As such, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are considered desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land. Considering the variances as minor in nature, the reduced side yard setbacks to the east and west are considered to generally be in keeping with the bylaw requirements. Staff note that all other applicable bylaw requirements, such as lot coverage, building height, front and rear yard setbacks, are still being met. And therefore, based on the above, staff are of the opinion that permitting the subject variances is minor in nature. Additional comments received. Engineering services have reviewed the above noted minor variance application with no objections. Building division, preliminary zoning review was conducted and no comments provided. Accessibility advisor and traffic analyst, no comments provided. Operational services parks have reviewed the documentation for the property associated. There are trees situated on the subject property that may require removal and may be impacted by excavation or disturbance due to construction. In view of the above, staff recommend that the committee impose the following conditions of this application should it be approved: that the owner may be required to provide an evaluation report prepared by a certified arborist or professional registered forester outlining all aspects of the impacts that this proposal will have on existing and current remaining vegetation. In addition, that the report shall include a schedule of monitoring the ongoing site work through a series of scheduled site visits by the arborist/forester during and post-construction to ensure the vegetation preservation measures remain in compliance throughout the project. That the owner may be required to provide vegetation compensation and replanting plan in accordance with the Town of Aurora tree removal, pruning and compensation policy. Further, that the owner agree to comply with the Town of Aurora tree permit bylaw number 5850-16 prior to the removal of any trees on the property. That the owner shall agree to provide financial securities based on the total value of the tree compensation evaluation and all arboricultural works as defined by the town and the owner's arborist or forester. All of the above should be included in as terms in and condition in a letter of undertaking with the Town of Aurora. Central York Fire Services, no comments provided. The Regional Municipality of York has completed its review of the above application and has no comment. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, the LSRCA will not be providing comments or collecting a review fee as the subject property is not regulated by the LSRCA. Electric utilities have reviewed the proposed variance application and have no objection to its approval, subject to their usual comments. I do not believe we have any written or comments received this evening, and I don't believe we have delegations on this item. So I'll look to the applicant or the agent on this application. I believe we have with us the applicant this evening, Mr. Peter Giordano, if I have that correctly. Mr. Giordano, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
And I'll just ask you to identify yourself, your address for the record.
Absolutely. Peter Giordano, David Small Designs, 1405 Cornwall Road in Oakville. We're the designers and authorized agent.
So, Mr. Giordano, if you wish to make any presentation or provide the committee with any comments on the application, please go right ahead.
Absolutely. If you'd indulge me, I do have just a quick brief presentation. We're here today requesting your consideration on 2 variance items. Next slide, please. Subject property is a corner property located, corner property containing an existing 2-story classical Georgian style home with a 1-story attached garage. Next slide, please. Our clients approached their neighbors, received positive comments in support of their application. While some were not able to provide letters, you should have in your files 2 letters of support from neighbors at number 116 George Street, and that's the property directly behind them, and their neighbor at number 25 Hawthorne Avenue. We're proposing a 1- and 2-story addition on the rear of the house and a 2nd-story addition over the garage space, contained almost entirely within the slope of the roof area over the garage. Decorative dormers added to the front roof line, including over the garage in conjunction with new single hung windows with grills, window trim surrounds, and a new front entry. Maintain and improve the Georgian style symmetry of the home. Next slide, please. The sides and rear property, I'll go to the next slide. This is the front elevation, Georgian style home. Sides and rear are well articulated with massing that attempts to reduce the impact of the 2-story home, even though the building height and floor area are all as of right. Next slide, please. That's the rear elevation. It's a 1-story addition to the right on that elevation, 2-story addition over top of the entry porch. Next slide, please. This faces George Street. That's the addition on the rear. It's a 2-story existing home, 1-story projection on the left side of the property, looking at it from the front of the house. Next slide, please. So our variance items are pretty straightforward. Item number 1 requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3 meters, where the front corner of the garage proposes 1.53 meters, but tapers and increases towards the rear of the property to 2.23 meters. Although a 2nd-story addition will be added over the garage, the walls of the 2nd floor are fully contained within the roof line and attic space, with only a front dormer projecting forward. Beyond the rear wall of the garage, the rest of the home steps back quite quickly. Similar to item number 1, item number 2 requires a minimum exterior side yard setback of 9 meters, whereas 5.1 is proposed. Once again, the left side wall flanking George Street follows and continues the line of the existing home. The existing wall of the home, again, are 2 stories tall, while the additions requiring the variance is a 1-story extension. The existing right and left side walls of this home are both currently existing non-conforming. We're in fact in line. We're not changing the line of the house on the left side. Line of the wall of the front garage, front right corner of the garage, maintains the existing condition, so we're not changing that. The property is currently surrounded by large, tall tree hedges that will remain and cover a large percentage of the property from the street and neighbors. Slides number 9, 10, and 11, the next group of slides, in my presentation show you this feature is common to the neighborhood. Staff reports, as already mentioned, are in support of our application and both variances. We believe the variance items to be minor and appropriate and pass the 4 tests of Section 45 of the Planning Act. We hope you agree with our opinion. At this time, I'm available to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Giordano. I appreciate that. That's a very thorough presentation. I appreciate the effort and the photos at the end there. That's very helpful. So I do not believe that we have any registered public delegates on this item. So I will go then to members of the committee for any comments or questions to the applicant. And Peter, if you want to just return us to our general, yep, beautiful. So let me go to members of the committee for any comments or questions on the application. Linda, I see your hand up there. Please go right ahead.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you for your presentation. It was pretty, well, it was described well. I've got a couple of questions, I guess, with the massive trees you've got going there. There's 2 very massive evergreen trees. One is attached to the existing deck, and then there's another one by the pool, and then there's a few in the front. Can you please address those and what is going to happen? I know I've read the whole report about what the arborists will have to do and everything, but can you just explain to me what's going to happen there? Thanks.
So to the applicant, Peter.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we've retained every tree that we could on site. We don't propose the removal of any of those large trees. They all remain at the front. I don't believe we have any trees in the footprint of the addition that would require removal of any of those trees.
Yeah, because I'm looking at your plan and I don't see them marked on there at all. I see them not existent anymore there. It's right where the proposed 2-story addition is where the existing deck is, which is also not on the plan of the existing. The existing 2-story dwelling is there. There's a deck behind it, and there's this massive tree right there. I don't see it anywhere. I see a new covered porch. It's got to be way out there. I don't think it's going to be part of your plans. Am I right with that? It's in your picture, just as you had in your recent slide there at the very last slide you had, or the second last slide. Both of those trees are in there. Those are the ones I'm questioning.
Yeah, we would typically, our protocol is to show trees that are being removed with a red X through them. And those aren't identified. That would be something that would be an arborist report. We're typically allowed to remove trees that are within the development area of the house, but we don't show any trees proposed to be removed in that area.
Right, because you don't show, through the chair, sorry, because you don't show trees on there that I'm in that area at all. There are no trees being shown. Am I missing something? Can you, if you point it out to me where that tree is on your plan, I'll be good. I just.
So perhaps we can get the site plan brought back up. Peter, can you do that for us, please? Or, sorry, yes, Peter.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too on my screen. If I'm missing it, that's fine. I'm sorry, but I don't see any trees there in the back.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the trees that are in the rear of the property are in the rear left corner. We have the 2 trees. They're both coniferous trees in the back. They appear to be, again, we're working within the tolerance tree protection zone of those trees. I don't believe we have any trees proposed to be removed there.
Does that make sense to you, Linda?
Not really. But I don't see how that's possible with the proposed second-story addition at the back of the existing two-story dwelling. The tree is right there. They're not on the plan. I don't see them, but okay. I'm good right now. We'll see.
Okay,
Yep, thank you.
thank you for pulling that back up, Peter. And I think, David, you had your hand up as well. I'll go to Linda, if we can, if you want to come back to that, we can certainly circle back around again. David, you had your hand up.
Yes, maybe I should follow up with the question my other member mentioned. It's something which I can ask the applicant or the applicant's representative. If maybe Peter can show again that drawing. What I want to ask the applicant, maybe to make it clear, Peter Giordano, maybe Peter, can you show that drawing again, maybe, or if Peter is able to have his own, maybe what my other member is asking, and is something which I would have also is to confirm, is maybe with your expertise. Just imagine not all of us are landscape architect or arborist or much knowledge, but I have a little bit of knowledge that I can see those circles and there's a black dot. I'm guessing that's the black dot on within the circle at the center of the circle is actually the location of the tree. Maybe what you should do is, for the sake of my other member, is for you to maybe have control of this, presentation, what is being shared. And he walk us through to say, okay, if you look at the back of this drawing, you look at the right side, there is a dot just to the right side of maybe the stairs there, that's the tree. And then maybe you talk about the circle. What does the circle indicate or represent? Or maybe the extent of the canopy or whatever. And you go each one of tree to prove to us that the trees will not be impacted. Maybe I'm just suggesting here to make it clear to other members. Is that okay, Mr. Peter Giordani, to do for us?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and so the circle, the larger circle is the crown of the tree, and then the smaller circle, of course, is the trunk of the tree. I looked to see whether or not I had information in an arborist report. I don't have. There isn't an arborist report on file. Again, I have to stand by the same opinion I had mentioned before. Our protocol, and we do that diligently, is when there's a tree removed, we show the circle that represents the crown of the tree with a dotted line, and we show a big red X through the trees that are to be removed. I don't have those. We don't have those anywhere in our drawings. I can only assume at this point that there are no trees affected by the one-story addition or the porch that would be affected by those extensions. We would be required to show those as to be removed as part of our application.
Okay, so you have already answered one of my questions. You are saying you don't have an arborist report or a forester. How did you come up with the location of those trees and the presentation? It seems that presentation is, I'm not sure. Maybe that's your area. I'm not sure here. I'm not trying to judge, but I'm looking at this is something which a landscape architect or an arborist or forester would do. So how did you come up with showing the location of the trunk and coming up with those circles, like the sort of the extent of the canopy?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that this is something that gets located, both the tree canopy and the tree location, specifically by the surveyor. So they're very specific. They're located, their exact location from the survey. The survey is provided as a CAD file. We bring that into our site plan, and it's overlaid, and we take the tree locations that are located by the surveyor, and we put them on our drawing precisely as shown, even to the point that you'll see that the trees will be located with a coniferous or deciduous, and a radius of the tree is also located on each of the trees.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a very good explanation. You have also educated me. I really appreciate that. That's very good. Because I was questioning, oh, we don't have an arborist, so who could do that? So you have provided a good explanation that the surveyor is the one who did that. And from my own, just looking at this, I can see that if really those were appropriately located, I can see the trunk, you know, the closest trunk I can see is the one on the right side of the building where the stairs are, and it's a bit far. And I can see the other one on the left side, just north of the building, the proposed one-story addition. I can see the trunk there is a bit far, and the canopy maybe may cover that one, I'm not sure. My other question is, for the location where you have got the 1.5 meter 1.5 meter setback at the garage there, I can see there's sort of a hedge row. How far is it from the hedge, the drip line of the hedge, or the hedge canopy, whatever I would say? How far is it to the corner of the garage? Not from the property line to the garage, we know that 1.53. But what about the I don't know what they call it, the canopy or drip line or the edge of the hedge to the garage? What I'm trying to look at here is the probability of being affected by the construction of the garage.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're actually, again, we're retaining the existing foundation of the garage. So we're doing zero excavation. We're rebuilding the wall of the existing garage. We're building the wall new, same location as it currently is. And if you want to get a better answer to your question, if the moderator can go to page number 9 on my slide display, you can actually see, yeah, right there. You can see that's the existing corner of the garage. It's a 1-story. We're building a roof over top of it, and it slopes back. It tapers on the front, tapers on the side. That's the existing hedge. So it's quite close there, but we're not doing anything to harm it. We're not doing any excavation. And like I said, we're actually building on top of the existing foundation, replacing the wall that's there right now, effectively same height, putting a 2nd story above the garage, same footprint of the garage.
Okay, thank you. My last question is related to the conditions. So I can see condition number 2 and condition number 4. They read the owner may be required, sort of may be required to provide an evaluation report, or may be required to provide a vegetation compensation. So, but the good thing I'm seeing is that on the 3rd condition, it's required that an arborist or a forester should be on the site monitoring the construction and so on. So this maybe is a question I have to the staff. Again, it's just to confirm. Is it your thought that while the arborist or forester is on site monitoring the construction, and if there's maybe you see impact, because I can see here you're also saying will be providing documentation of what is happening on site, and provide you something, maybe it will not be an evaluation, but maybe a report. Is it after that when you make a decision that I think you need to have an evaluation report, and also decide maybe trees need to be compensated, and maybe they need a replanting? I'm just trying to confirm your line of thought.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. Could you please rephrase the question? I'm a little unclear as to what you're requesting. Sorry, I'm looking at the conditions.
Yeah, so I'm saying conditions in number 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
You like that the owner may be required. Basically, it shall not be required. It may be required.
Yes.
And the way I read it is something that the town staff may decide later. Not now. They cannot decide now, but later on. And looking at the condition number 3,
mm-hmm.
you are saying shall. So basically, shall be scheduling and doing monitoring on site, seeing
mm-hmm.
all the construction activities. So my question is, basically, trying to confirm, is your line of thought that when the arborist or forester is on site doing construction and monitoring what is happening, documenting what is happening, at that time, if you see or from the report or whatever it is, notes, whatever, will be provided to the town, you'll be able to decide that, oh, we are seeing an impact to the trees and so on, and then decide that, oh, now we should have an evaluation report, or now we should have, you need vegetation compensation or replanting. Is that your line of thought?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct. The conditions are there in the event that it is required. So these determinations will be made by the Parks Department. These are conditions that were imposed by the town's Parks Department. So if it is necessary, then yes, these are conditions that will need to be met, and the applicant owner will be required to demonstrate how they've fulfilled these conditions.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm okay, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, David. Let me go to other members of the committee. Daniel, please go right ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. I just have one quick question. I'm just looking at the letters of support, and you have the neighbor who will be impacted by the size from the back. But the second letter is of 25 Hawthorne. And I had to scroll. It's not in my photos that I took. So I had to scroll on Google Maps quite a while to find 25. The neighboring house is 5. And 5 is the one where there is going to be that small amount of side yard. Have you spoken to, or have the Boyds spoken to the neighbor on 5 in terms of what's going on? Any comments, anything? Because to be honest, the only the main letters that I would see of value is the 2 neighbors in this case. So can you tell me anything about number 5?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have Allison Boyd present with us, the homeowner. If you want to ask her directly, I'm sure Allison would be able to provide you with that information. That being said, I would start by saying, again, we're not changing the condition there. We're retaining the condition on that side. So although it is a minor variance, we're retaining the same condition as currently there. Allison, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're going up. But unfortunately, I don't think Allison has been able to connect to audio since we've started.
I see. Yeah, my understanding is that they've lived there for quite a while. They've had several conversations with all their homeowners, and the homeowner on that side had no concerns with the application at all. That being said, they had the right to, call in like anybody else could and provide a letter or provide a reason why they would not agree with the addition if they had any concerns with it.
Yes, I agree. There's also the negative that applies. But I was just looking at, you have letters of support. Having one that's 9 homes over, it would have been easier to get the neighbor, and it would have had a lot more value in terms of understanding the 2 neighbors who are impacted. What are their views?
Reason why they would not agree with the addition if they had any concerns with it.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I agree. There's also the negative that applies. But I was just looking at, you have letters of support. Having one that 9 homes over, it would have been easier to get the neighbor, and it would have had a lot more value in terms of understanding the 2 neighbors who are impacted. What are their views?
Reason why they would not agree with the addition if they had any concerns with it.
Can everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, I
You
agree.
have to
There's
turn off
also
your
the
feed.
negative.
You have your YouTube on. Can you turn it off,
I
Allison
was
Boyd?
looking at.
Hold up, everyone. Hold up, everyone. Peter, can we ask Allison to come to the live feed? I'm actually hoping she can join us, because that was something that I was certainly going to bring up with possibly other members of the committee.
I think I'm on the right feed now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Allison, so welcome to the meeting. You've heard the question. Have you spoken to the residents, owners of number 5?
Absolutely. Talked about a month or so ago. Have had many conversations. We're obviously close neighbors of a decade. And even today, Peter, I just sent you an email where they said there's no issue. They as well only wanted to know that that hedge would be contained. And of course, that is 100% our first and foremost concern about all of this is that those trees remain intact. So we do have, I know that they emailed me today to say someone went to the door today and they felt badly because it was their son and not them, and because I've had so much interaction with them. So okay, hi Tom, thank you. It was Colin, their son. So
Yes.
she sent the message today and she felt badly just because she didn't want to, derail everything, because it seemed like we hadn't talked to them. We've had lots of conversations. So thank you. I'll start my video and say hello. I'm just out at my cottage, so I'm in a bad zone. So yeah, we've had great support with the neighbors. Yeah.
Thank you, Allison. And just for clarifications, that was me. I did have a conversation with, I did not get his name, but I did have a conversation with him this afternoon. Nice young gentleman. And maybe you can confirm this for me. He was under the impression, and it looks like it when I was scooting down the side of your property there, looking at the separation between that hedge and the corner of the garage. If I'm not mistaken, and maybe Peter, you can also confirm this, because you can't tell from the drawing, but I believe that's their hedge. Am I correct, Allison or Peter?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it's shared. It appears on the survey that it's on the property line, and the fact that it's on both sides, it makes it a shared condition, which basically gives them both ownership of the hedge. So they would have to agree with any modifications if required. Okay.
Let me go to Steve, if you have any comments or questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I shared some of the similar concerns. I do think it will be difficult to build on top of the existing footprint that close to the hedge without damaging it. But obviously we've got the assurances here. It looks like the neighbors have spoken, and and then we have the condition in place that. Of the monitoring. So I'm comfortable in this case. My comment is that I think that when I look at this case and I compare it to others that we've seen with side yard setback reductions, I think the scale here, the existing tree canopy, and also the existing hedges, I think there is adequate separation that's maintained, and I am comfortable with these variances as requested.
Thank you, Steve. Let me just circle back to the conditions, because I think David brings up a very good point. So condition number 2 and number 4 refer to the possibility that the owner may be required to provide an evaluation report. In condition number 4, that the owner may be required to provide vegetation compensation and replanting plan. And then in 3, in addition, the report shall include. So if the report's required, then it would include a schedule of monitoring, but it doesn't state that a monitoring plan is required in and of itself. And I'm tempted to suggest that we might want to change the wording in 2, that the owner be required to provide an evaluation report prepared by this arborist, so that it requires the fulfillment of condition number 3. So I've sensed from the committee and from my own evaluation of what's going on, there's going to be a lot of construction going on, and it's going to affect the property, pretty much the entire perimeter of it. And there are some very mature trees there that could suffer some damage. So in as much as I don't have any problem with the variances, I might be tempted to suggest that we do require in condition number 2, the applicant to complete the evaluation report, and that would then trigger condition number 3. And I don't know how other members of the committee feel about making that one minor change, but if a motion comes forward that addresses that, then I certainly don't have any problem supporting this application. If it doesn't come forward, then I'll pass the chair to someone else and ask that be added. So if there is a motion coming forward, I'll ask that person to please keep that in consideration. And I'll just ask the applicant before we circle one last time for any comments. Peter, have you, Giordano, have you looked at these conditions, and are you okay with them as they appear now and potentially with a minor change? Would you be okay with that?
Got no problem with any of those conditions. I saw them prior to the hearing, and I was in acceptance of those conditions. I don't believe that a modification to it changes my opinion on that. It's not uncommon for us to have an arborist on site to monitor work around the tree. I disagree a little bit that the extent of the work will be extensive. The front wall, the side wall, most of the side wall are to remain. There really isn't any change. That's a 2-story house that isn't changing. But that being said, it's always safe and to include some supervision, and assuming I've got Allison on the line here, so I'd welcome her acceptance of that as well. From my opinion, from a professional standpoint, I would gladly accept that condition if required.
Sure, we do have her on the line. Allison, do you understand? I know you're at your cottage, you probably don't have with you, but what I'm suggesting is that we do include a requirement to have a evaluation report prepared as indicated in condition number 2. I can read the whole thing if you wish, but that's the suggestion that I'm making.
No, that's okay. I mean, we moved to this area for those trees. I'm in full protection of those trees, whatever needs to be done for those trees. I mean, that, just so everybody knows on the phone, that hedge that's on George Street is actually on town property. We have cared, if anyone wants to go and see how manicured it is, that is us. On town, we are definitely in support of keeping that's why we're there. So I'm 100% in getting the council that needs to make sure all of those are safe and protected. So I agree. Thank
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. Any other comments from members of the committee before we look for a motion? None. So I'll look for a motion. David?
Yes.
Sorry.
So in a sort of jiving what you are saying, in let's say condition number 2, it would read, for example, the owner shall provide, and then there is an evaluation report, blah blah blah. Then yeah, okay. I think that's what it is. I was thinking about something else, but I think that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I was
Thank you,
thinking of a change in condition number 3, but it's okay. If we change in condition number 2, then that's okay. It also handles condition
Triggers
number
it.
3. Yeah.
So I'll look for a motion then from the committee, please.
Okay.
David. Go right ahead.
I thought
please.
that I'll make it easier for the committee since I'm talking about it. Okay, so through the chair, I move that minor variance application MV-2022-19 be approved with conditions in the staff's report, but with the condition number 2, it should read, the owner shall provide an evaluation report prepared by a certified arborist or professional registered forester outlining all aspects of the impacts that this proposal will have on existing and current remaining vegetation, the report, and then the rest will be the same. Yeah, so it's just the first part of the condition, just to say the owner shall provide an evaluation report. Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll look for a seconder. Seconded by Linda, and I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. So Allison, I'll just say to you that your application's been well received by members of the committee and approved with that minor change. Thank you for being with us this evening. Peter, thank you as well for your attendance and participation, as well as your presentation, and I'll bid you both a very pleasant evening.
Terrific.
Thank you very much.
Same
Thanks,
to you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye now.
Through the chair, can I just ask one thing, Chair? We didn't ask her what her name was or where she was living. Does that matter?
Oh, she is the applicant. We'll just note that
Okay.
her name is Allison Boyd, residing at number 3 Hawthorne Lane. And thank you, Linda. Yes, I should have done that.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to make it official that it was okay. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on to the next application for the evening. So this is a minor variance application for, and I apologize, the name is Noraspur at 81 Child Avenue. This is minor variance 2022-22. There is a related planning application. That's a site plan application 2022-06. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a new 2-story dwelling. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 24.497.3.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3 meters or 10 feet beyond the main rear wall of the adjacent dwelling. The applicant is proposing a 2-story detached dwelling, which is 1.8 meters or 6 feet to the interior side property line. The applicant's stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw refers to, as it's stated on the application form, oversized setbacks makes the house too narrow. Planning comments. With respect to the general intent of the official plan, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance will facilitate the development of a new dwelling that is compatible with and generally in keeping with the low density residential form and character of the neighborhood. It is the opinion of staff that the requested variance meets the general intent of the official plan. With regard to the variance meeting the general intent of the zoning bylaw, the proposed new dwelling at 81 Child Drive would allow for a 1.8 meter side setback, which staff are of the opinion that provides increased privacy than what is currently on the property. That the new dwelling extends approximately 3 meters from the adjacent dwelling at 79 Child Drive, that there are no windows or side entrances in this area, adding to the privacy of the abutting property. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw and has minimal impact on the streetscape and privacy of the abutting neighborhood. The variance being considered appropriate development and use of the land, staff consider the variance desirable for the appropriate development of the land. And with regards to the variance being considered minor in nature, the proposed dwelling is considered moderate in scale and are not anticipated to result in any negative impacts to surrounding properties or the neighborhood. As such, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is minor. Additional comments. Building Division completed its zoning review on June the 7th. Engineering, no comments. And then we've got Operational Services Parks, that the owner may be required to provide an evaluation report prepared by a certified arborist or professional registered forester, outlining all aspects of the impacts this proposal will have on existing and current remaining vegetation. In addition, the report shall include a schedule of monitoring the ongoing site work through a series of scheduled site visits by the arborist or forester during and post-construction to ensure the vegetation preservation measures remain in compliance throughout the project, that the owner may be required to provide vegetation compensation and replanting plan in accordance with the Town of Aurora tree removal and pruning and compensation policy, that the owner shall agree to comply with the Aurora Tree Permit Bylaw number 5850-16 prior to the removal of any trees, that the owner shall agree to provide financial securities based on the total value of the tree compensation evaluation and all arboricultural works as defined by the town and owner's arborist or forester. And all of the above shall be included in terms as terms in conditions in a letter of undertaking. Operational Services, no comments received. Central York Fire, no comments. The Region of York, no comments. LSRCA, no comments, as it is not within a regulated area under the LSRCA under OREG 179/06. And Electric Utilities, comments provided stating no objections. At the time of the report, we had received one, I believe, letter of opposition. However, since then, we have received multiple emails through staff expressing opposition to this application. We will probably be getting to those shortly. There are conditions of approval, and I believe there are a total of 2 with sub-bullets from A to F. So I'll ask if the owner or applicant is with us tonight. I believe it is Victor Gitberg, if I have that correctly, sir.
That's correct. Yeah.
I'll
I'm
welcome you to the meeting. I'll ask you to identify yourself and your address for the record, please.
Yes. My name is Victor Gitberg. I'm an architect and I'm representing the owner of the house. I resided at number 33 Belvedere Crescent in Richmond Hill, L4C 8W1.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members. As you had mentioned, we're proposing construction of two-story new dwelling with integral garage, and we're seeking relief from two variants. From a variance for side yard setback, where by law required 3 meters beyond the main rear wall of adjacent property. We are proposing 1.82 meters. So this project, as you know, probably this area is regulated by site plan control. And this project was scrutinized with staff for all aspects of massiveness and use of material and compatibility with surrounding neighborhood. So the way we design this house is we are trying to minimize number of variances, obviously. So we're in compliance with any other provisions of the bylaw. Our coverage is way below maximum permitted. So maximum permitted coverage is 35%. We have 27. Our roof height is lower than maximum permitted, and the way we design our roof, like it's sort of a mansard type of design, so the house does not look massive and comparable in scale to adjacent properties. So also, as you can see from the pattern of the two adjacent houses, the 182 setback is not really something uncommon. Like number 79 have very similar setback of 1.9 meters, and number 83, the portion of 83 actually has setback of only 1 meter at the rear of the property. And our house, as been mentioned, project slightly beyond the rear wall of number 71, but it does not project beyond number 83. So the way I understand and interpret the bylaws, so this variance we're asking for is only applicable to number 79, sorry, not 83, because 83, the rear main wall of 83 is actually way beyond our rear main wall. Yeah, so that's basically, I read the letter of objection from the neighbor of 83. He has some concerns about keeping the existing hedge between two properties, and I sent the email today to the planning department, zoning department, that it's an intention of my client to keep this hedge intact because it's actually quite beautiful and it creates some privacy. And I think like 6 feet setback to the property line which we are maintaining should be enough to keep this hedge in place. Hedge is now on our side, but it's right on the property line. In case if during the construction some of the portion of the hedge is damaged, it will be restored to the original condition, but our intention is to keep it. That basically concludes my short presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bickard. I appreciate your comments and the presentation. Just for the record, before I ask for delegations, just for the record, and I wanted to mention this at the onset. So this afternoon, we did receive indication that 83, John, Joanne, Alex, Diana, at 79, Sharon Green, at 56, Jackie Ellis, At 63, Leo and Sue Klein. At 64, Kirk McCarthy. And at 69, Marnie McGregor, I believe it's Mui, have all indicated their objection to the variance. And I don't believe we have any letters of support received from any of the other neighbors. So with that, I'll ask, and I do believe that there is a delegate from the public that wishes to address the committee. I believe it's Alex Diana who is with us this evening. So if he is with us, the committee would like to hear from you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have reached out to Alex Diana and we haven't heard back from her. She's currently not in the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Peter, if she does join the meeting prior to a motion, I'll entertain comments from her. Okay, so let me go to then members of the committee for comments and or questions of the applicant. Steve, the floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I think I'd like to start with just a general comment because I think the way the agenda was set tonight, it's very interesting because I think we started with side yard setbacks, minor variances for side yard setback reductions that were greater than this one. But I think that what we've seen in all of our cases and why we go out to the properties is that each case is unique. And I think you have to look at it on its own merits. And I think when you look at the Regency Acres neighborhood, it's significantly different than the Hawthorne variance that we saw earlier in terms of the amount of vegetation in the area and the orientation and the lots here. And in this case, I noticed that it's the lots are very, I'll call it very rectangular in nature. And although they're both stable neighborhoods, I don't think they're similar. I'd like to go through a few of the minor tests if I could. I have some questions for staff and I have some questions for the applicant's representative here. So when I look at the consistency with the official plan and specifically this area being designated as stable neighborhood, I noticed that the intent of the stable neighborhood is to protect against incompatible development here. And specifically, Mr. Geitberg, I noticed you made a comment that I wrote down that this proposed property is comparable in scale to the adjacent properties, and I think I'd like to understand that a little better in a few moments. But I'd like to first go to staff, because when I look at sort of the criteria that's implied in the rationale of why staff believe that this is consistent with the official plan and is protecting against incompatible development, I just see reference to this area having 1- and 2-story single-family dwellings. And I think when we look at the Regency Acres neighborhood, if you go back 5 years, it was pretty much exclusively 1-story, 1,000, 1,200 square foot houses. And obviously the zoning allows for bigger houses, and that's what we've seen. We've seen infill development of 5,000 or 6,000 square foot houses. And for the benefit of the applicant's agent here, a few years ago, there was significant discussion from residents of this neighborhood and concern about what they termed monster homes. And there was significant consultation, and I think the bylaws were reviewed and a lot of them were confirmed. And I don't know if it's just an unfortunate wording But the reason that is stated in this report is that oversized setbacks do not or allow for too narrow of a house. So question for staff here. When you're looking at an official plan in a stable neighborhood, what do you look for and how do you determine what are incompatible forms of development? I mean, surely you're not using just a test of 1 and 2 story single family dwellings. So through you, Mr. Chair, if we could perhaps ask Sean to walk us through the process that staff typically would use. And I understand that Sean's not the planner on file here, but just a general question, because I think Sean was the planner on file in the previous one. And Sean, I note that you reference scale of the neighborhood. And perhaps you can walk us through what you do in terms of, in a stable neighborhood, determining if something is compatible or incompatible development.
Through you, Mr. Chair, no problem at all. I'll try my best. To your point that you had mentioned earlier about how each application is unique and should be reviewed and evaluated on its own merits, that is very true for sure. I think generally planners will, of course, complete a review and render a decision, or sorry, prepare a recommendation, give their opinion as to whether or not they feel that it meets the intent of the official plan. So I think one important thing to realize, or sorry, keep in mind with the stable neighborhoods designation is that the intent is to allow development and to allow neighborhoods to evolve over time. So I think to answer your question, planners in general will review the application. We will make a determination and prepare a recommendation and state whether or not we feel it's compatible. And I think one of the main things we look at when doing that, it's not just looking at the property, but it's looking at how the variance and the development overall fits within the character of the neighborhood. So not only is it suitable for the property on its own, but how does it fit within the area in general? So I think that hopefully might be able to answer your question. It's definitely something that I take into consideration when making any kind of recommendation on a minor variance application.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. And through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And that's where a lot of my concern is here, because I look at the neighbor to the east who has complained, and I look at his back deck. And if I look at the drawings, if we allow this variance, and I realize, 1 meter here or there isn't going to make a lot of difference. But when you're on your back porch and you're looking at a 25-foot brick wall with no windows, that's 1 meter closer and 1 meter that isn't. And in a lot of cases, we do see shade surveys or shade studies down here. This is going to be an impact on their enjoyment of the backyard. And especially when you have a 1-story house beside, I realize that the zoning allows for these larger houses and that we're going to have growth. But, after the significant community, concern about these houses, I think this committee has really taken a real look at these variances, and we've looked at why they are necessary. And I'll sort of repeat a comment that our chair has made many times is, what is the hardship here? And Mr. Geitberg, when I look at the drawings, and I see, just a significant rec space in the bottom and a gym, and I see a 4-bedroom house where 3 of the 4 bedrooms on a floor have en-suites. There's a large walk-in closet. And then I see a comment that we have oversized side yard setbacks, which causes the house to be too narrow. I struggle to see the hardship here, why you need that extra meter. And I look at your design, and your house is a big box. So I struggle to see why the neighbors have to suffer with a 26-foot wall, you know, and roof that's 1 meter closer, so that we can have these significant sized rooms. And so perhaps, Mr. Geitberg, you can, I don't know if you wrote that or your neighbor wrote that, but maybe you could speak to why we believe that these setbacks that apply to the whole neighborhood, and your client has bought a house here, and then what I'm seeing here is they're trying to fit a house and amenities. They're asking the neighbors to sacrifice so that they can have everything that they want in this house. And I don't think it's a case, at least in my opinion, of side yard setbacks making a house being too narrow. It seems to me that the owner wants all the amenities in a house that's oversized and doesn't fit the property that they built. So maybe Mr. Geitberg, you can comment on that.
So just for clarity's sake, and I did read it that way, Steve, it was on the application form. So this is either coming from the owner or the applicant, that oversized setbacks make the house too narrow. So that's something that has come from the applicant. So Mr. Geitberg, do you want to address that?
Yes, through Mr. Chair, I just want to explain merits of my design. So basically, the house is not, by any means, it's not a monstrous house, a huge house. It's not 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, as has been mentioned. It's under 4,000 actually square feet. And the owner, it's a big invested for him, and he has a large family, so he needs 4 bedrooms and a certain space. And obviously, he was hoping to design the house, to build the house within the bylaw, like as I mentioned, like we under maximum permitted coverage, and same goes for the height. So we're trying to keep scale comparable to the neighborhood, and we work with city staff on it, on the design features, and as I said, on material compatibility and overall scale. So yeah, so that basically the house has 2-car garage. So when you have 2-car garage, you need a certain width to accommodate the rest of the rooms. That's my second point. And lastly, is again, as far as I understand the bylaw requires 3-meter setbacks beyond the rear main wall of adjacent property. So that being said, that the appearance of the house from the street, it still will be the same. Even if we would not ask for this variance, the appearance from the street will be the same without compromising bylaw. So that basically that's applicable only to the rear portion of the house, where we have a family room and a kitchen. And obviously that's a place where families spend most of the time, and where they need this additional width. So that was the reason behind this design. And also, as I mentioned, like this 6-foot setback is not uncommon on this street. Like if you look at other houses, newly built houses, like there are some very big houses built in recent years on this street, and much bigger than what we are proposing, and in a larger scale. So we were trying to avoid those mistakes, and we've been directed by the staff to the right direction, how the house should look like, and how we have to proportion details of this house to be comparable with neighborhood. And yeah, it's actually, it wasn't easy, because we changed design several times, and eventually we came to a mutual understanding, and to this design, which right now in front of you.
Okay, I mean, thank you, Mr. Geitberg, and through you, Mr. Chair. My concern isn't the streetscape, and I do understand that we're only talking about the side yard setback beyond the one property on the east side. However, that does impact the backyard. It's a big brick wall that they would be staring at with no windows. that would be a meter, 1.2 meters closer. It's, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think it's a huge difference, but the one point I will make is I don't see the hardship here at all, and I don't see why the neighbor who has opposed should be made to sacrifice, you know, with what I am seeing as very comfortable rooms. You are correct. There are larger houses on the street. I think the community compromised after significant consultation, and I do not believe we have, to this point, approved a variance, because at least by my standards, we haven't seen hardship that would require approving a variance since the consultation and the bylaws. I do want to move on to the second one, which is there was a comment on the staff report that by demolishing the home, you would be improving the side yard setbacks. And another question to staff here, there's a reference that it would be improving the encroachment on the side yard setbacks, and that the carport is 0.6, and this would be 1.8. Through you, Mr. Chair, question to staff: Do we know if that's if there are any approved variances on this property? Is that carport an approved variance to the side yard setback?
Or is it legal?
Is it legal? Is it an existing condition?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's unfortunately not information I have available at this time. We would have to look into it. It's possible that it could be legal non-conforming, very possible. But unfortunately, that's not information that was included with the application form or in the report about any past variances that may or may not have, that may have been issued.
Okay, and through you, Mr. Chair, another question to staff. Isn't it typically the expectation when a house is demolished that it's sort of an irrelevant point, is it not? Is the expectation not to bring a home or a property into compliance when a new home is built? So I'm failing to see the relevance of the carport if we're demolishing the carport in the house.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. In the event of, in a case where a home were to be demolished, it would have to conform to present day zoning bylaw standards.
Right, so it's you know, it's really an irrelevant justification for meeting the zoning, right? And the other point that I would make to the committee is I think there's a big difference between an open carport with two posts and a roof, which is mostly an open air area. And also I would say that that carport really, from what I could see, didn't really extend beyond the rear wall. So it really is an irrelevant justification in my mind for that minor test. So I'll just make that note to the committee. And then the last one, I've talked about this in minor, you know, I don't believe that this is necessarily an appropriate development or a minor impact to the neighbor. And I think the neighbor has voiced their concerns that that's the case. One last question to the applicant's agent. Generally in these cases, you mentioned that you had sent a note to staff. Do you know if the owner has reached out to the neighbors and had any discussions with them?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the best of my knowledge, owner told me that he discussed this proposal with numerous neighbors, both on each side, 79 and 83, and some neighbors across the street. And he mentioned that it happened about 3 weeks ago. And at that time, he didn't feel that they're not supportive and that they are opposing. But again, it's I didn't participate in these conversations, and that's what I just information I've got from the owner of the property.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. And through you, Mr. Chair, obviously I realize that you're not the applicant and you weren't privy to those discussions, but we do have 8 letters of opposition in this case. You know, I at the end of the day, I'll pass the word on to my fellow members here, but my position here is I don't see the hardship, and I based on 3 or all 4 of the minor tests, I don't believe they're met. So that's my position here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. All right, I'm going to circle back before we continue with members of the committee, because I do believe that Alex Diana has joined the meeting. And with that, I'll give the floor over to that member of the public if they still wish to address the committee.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Tom. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for their time tonight, and those individuals who I've probably been in contact with in terms of orchestrating our concerns. Just to clarify, as far as the owner actually communicating.
Just before you continue, Alex, just for the record, I just need your name and your address.
So sorry. So my name is Alex Diana, and I live at 83 Child Drive.
Thank you. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay. So just to kind of, I guess, clarify as to whether the owner has reached out to the residing neighbors, the answer is actually no. We've had 0 contact with them, including 79 Child as well. There's been no discussion. We've had 0 interactions with them. But to just, I guess, kind of encapsulate and bring forward, Steve, I really appreciate the notes that you brought forward, because that's exactly what I expressed in my concern for this, is that there's a lot of compromise to our properties and our lifestyles that we've built and worked really hard to establish in this neighborhood. And yes, to sit there and say that there are these large houses coming up in the neighborhood, that's the compromise. That's what our houses and what our residents are currently facing. Either they're not knowing the ways to express these concerns and fight back, or in some cases, because variances aren't required, it's just allowed. But to sit there and say that this is for growth or to meet the needs of, something that in my eyes doesn't fit in this neighborhood, it's a lot to ask. And this decision is permanent. This isn't a cosmetic change. This is, like you said, a big brick going up, and that definitely has an impact on our day-to-day lives and the property and neighborhood that we've fallen in love with. So this is definitely, it's a sensitive subject because this is our home. To also just kind of, express concern in terms of, construction. We had issues with, whether or not the hedge was going to be staying in place. We have concerns around the hedge and how the hedge is supporting our retaining wall, things that, again, we've invested in. We do have concern about, just the construction in general, because we've spoken to other residents on the street who have gone through what we've gone through, and have had damages to their properties. So that's also a concern, because, a brick falling on someone's car or having damage to your garage door, I know that there's precautions put in place to protect the town property, but we don't have anything in place that protects us for our vehicles, for our metal roof that we've installed, for the new fence that we put in a few years ago. There's a lot at stake. And so it does feel like we're, kind of just being sideswept to allow this, dream home that one person wants. So that's, I guess, all I have to say.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate you being with us, and presenting your thoughts. I can just also mention that we did receive, as you may not have heard, you may not have been with us at the onset here, but we went on record indicating which of the neighbors we had received emails or letters of objection on this application.
Yes, we were very much in contact with those neighbors as well. So I do appreciate the note of it. I was in the meeting. I just didn't have the Zoom link right away. So I apologize for my tardiness.
That's fine. Thank you for being persistent and getting through. Okay. Let me go on to other members of the committee for any comment or question on the application. Daniel, I see your hand up there.
Thank you through the chair. First of all, just wanted to thank Alex for coming in and iterating the neighbors' comments once again. And I will not repeat my colleagues, Steve's comments, because I do mirror them, but I will add on to them. I guess it's always a benefit of letting Steve speak first, as it saves me time. So it's the hardship that I have a hard time getting over. We've seen it a few times, and it's been a source of friction for a few of us. I know it is for me, where wanting a bigger house is all the justification necessary to make changes. The property is small, or the property is not dimensioned in a way that is appropriate. However, the idea is to simply request changes to the bylaws or to request minor variances, and that gets to the necessary goal. There is unnecessary use in the house. One thing that troubled me, and it's not relevant in terms directly, but it is relevant in terms of needing that extra space. The homes are fairly well aligned right now. I went to a home two houses over because I had access to the garage, and the homes are fairly well aligned. But I look at the plan, and the new house is going to come out about a foot, if not a foot and a half. It's those type of things of needing that extra space to accommodate the two-car garage when most of the houses around are one-car garages or carports. It's these requirements in order to meet a goal of living in a great neighborhood, but wanting that mega home. That is what I'm seeing here. And that's what I'm having a hard time getting over. It's simply a question of, is it the right home for that location? And sometimes, and I've moved a number of times myself, and I've lived, my parents who moved every couple of years in order to have the nicer house, the bigger house, as they became more and more successful, same as me. And that's how you improve, you make things a little bit bigger, a little bit better. But I just cannot in my head, I can't overcome the hardship or the lack thereof. The hardship to the neighbors, but the hardship, where's the hardship in meeting the zoning bylaw, or having a home that is bigger, better, but is closer in terms of what the bylaw is intending, especially since this was a reviewed, the neighborhood reviewed the zoning bylaw in the area in order to support local concerns. There is a home, I believe 4 over on the opposite side, that probably are accelerated those concerns. And I have a hard time being or adding to that in providing more than is necessary or more than the bylaw is requiring. If we were requesting a little bit, going from 3 to 2.5, that's one thing. But we're almost cutting it in half, and it's a big brick wall. It is not it's not enjoyable to the neighborhood. It's not enjoyable to the neighbors. And I guess I really don't have a question because Steve did ask the questions that I needed to phrase in terms of questions, but I guess I wanted to support my colleague and just make sure that you understand my point of view in terms of having such I wouldn't say unnecessary, but it might not be the wrong word to use in terms of the footprint required to build such a large home. And yes, there are bigger homes, but this is a big home. So I think those are my comments. I will leave it up to you, Mr. Goodberg, if you did want to comment, but if you did not, I fully understand, and we can move on to any of my other colleagues if Chair agrees.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to add a few words if you allow me to speak.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to explain again the reasoning behind those variances. So, as I said, like we are in compliance with all other provisions of the bylaw. So we are trying to find the right balance, and maybe the mentioning of the house will be too narrow is probably not had been phrased very well. But the idea behind it is like if we make the house narrower and make it in compliance with side yard setback bylaw, we still can make it longer. So we can basically compensate losing the square footage which we are allowed to have by making the house longer. And my idea was that if you make house longer but narrower, it will have bigger impact on the neighbors because it will obstruct the view on the backyard much worse way than we have it now. So that was one of the reasons we decided to go a little bit wider but make it a shorter house. Then another thing is a side yard setback, which bylaw required for two-story house, not projecting beyond the rear main wall of adjacent property is 5 feet. And on number 83 site, we're maintaining 6 feet. So we actually we're providing bigger and more generous setback than we allowed to have as per bylaw, because number 83, you can see, as I mentioned before, the rear main wall projects much farther than our rear main wall. So we can maintain 5 feet on the all along the number 83. So I'm just saying that just to explain committee that we are not like we did have sensitive approach. We didn't ignore completely the interest of the neighbors, and we were trying to make our design neighbors friendly. So if it didn't work, I'm sorry about that. But the intention was to design house in such a way that it will complement neighborhood rather than be invasive. And as I mentioned before, like the exterior view of the house, like the front facade, will still stay the same even if this variance is rejected. It will still stay the same. And lastly, I know how important this variance for my clients. So if committee would consider maybe some reduction in the variance, like Daniel mentioned, maybe instead of asking for a 4 feet reduction in the side yard setback, we can reduce it to 2 feet. That probably would be a reasonable compromise.
Well, if you allow, and I apologize, Tom, if I gave one impression or not impression, said one thing and I'm going to do something different, but we're doing a little bit of a Q&A. So let me ask you specifically the question then. So, and I know it's not related, but you need the extra real estate. So as a result, it is tangentially related. So you are doing a larger face because you're going from 1 story to 2 stories. Yet you're bringing the house forward, which amplifies the impact, the streetscape impact to your neighbors and to the neighbors. Why not keep it flushed to the other homes like it currently is? Why bring it forward? I know it's not that much, but a foot with an additional story on paper is a small amount, but compounded visually, it does make it bigger.
Is it possible to show a site plan on the screen?
Peter, can you pull that up again? And before we go any further, I just want to, so for the sake of time, and for the sake of further discussion on this, Mr. Kuiper, you just suggested a compromise. Do you have a mandate from your client to look at a lesser impact or a lesser encroachment? Do you have that authority at this point?
Yeah, I think my client would listen to my advice at this point, and something is better than nothing. In terms of the moving house backward, I just trying to remember. I think that we had this discussion with staff and front yard setback. Basically, the front yard setback is 7 meters, so that's.
Yes, I do understand it is conforming. So I absolutely, my question is more in terms of neighbor impact. We've heard from Alex and from written that the neighbors aren't happy with what they're seeing. So it just feels to me that there's a consideration that could have been done to minimize that impact. Bringing things forward and increasing it makes it feel much larger. Large and back looks smaller, feels smaller than large and front. So it's just one small example, but it just compounds in my mind, and I just didn't want to repeat items that Steve had already brought up. So that was the one that was remaining on my list.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of reasons we put the house at 7 meter setbacks. First of all, we didn't want to push it too much backward, because I think that any encroachment into rear yard would have bigger impact on neighbors rather than small projection at the front, because this projection of barely 2 feet, don't think it will be very visible, but extra 2 feet on the backyard will have more impact on our neighbors. Also, we are trying to protect the tree of the backyard. So I think if we move it backward, then we may encroach into tree.
Well, maybe the house is a foot.
Yeah, so
maybe the house is a foot too long then. Anyways, sorry, that was more facetious than anything. I apologize, but yeah, there's a community that goes along with the plan. Is my overall comment, but understood. And I think Tom, you were going down a sorry, Mr. Chair, you were going down a path in terms of
negotiation.
Negotiation. So I believe I jumped in here, so I apologize. I'll get back to you.
No, Daniel, it was your discussion that brought that forward. It just, when I hear something like that during these meetings, it opens another opportunity based on the comments that you have made, the comments that we've heard from the resident and contained in the letters that we've received, and Steve's comments thus far. You haven't really heard from me. You haven't heard from David or Linda. But as you know, as we all know, we as a committee can look at a lesser reduction to the setback that's being requested as part of our deliberations. We can do that. There's no guarantee that the applicant will agree. And there's also no guarantee, which is why I asked the question, that the owner of the property will accept it. And in some cases, what we suggest to the applicant and owner is that they go back, request a deferral. And I would suggest that we hear from everybody first before we even make that suggestion, that would give the applicant, in this case, Mr. Geitberg, full knowledge of what the committee might or might not consider as part of our deliberations and consideration in the application. And you brought it up, Daniel, so I appreciate it, because if you hadn't, I would have. Okay, Peter, can you bring us back to open forum here? Terrific. And again, Mr. Geitberg, I did have to get that clarified if you did have a mandate from your client to look at a compromise here, and thank you for confirming that. Let me go to other members of the committee before we come back to my comments, but Linda, would you like to?
Thank you through the chair. A couple comments. I'm going to be quick. I agree with my colleagues on what they've said and what they've covered. I do feel that I'm a little upset that the neighbors were not spoken to. They weren't. There was no conversation there. I think that should have happened, especially right next door. I think that's right out there. The comment of being oversized setbacks makes the house too narrow. Once again, I have issues with that too, because it's a new construction. Figure it out. You know, you can do it. You can manage with the bylaw, and it is already a generous home. I'm sure you could do a little tweaking there to accommodate others, but at the same time, I have that other to change. The other one is that the official plan requires new development and site alterations to be sympathetic to the form and character of a budding existing residential development and to be compatible with regard to building scale and urban design. And that's put out by the town. That's a town statement, not one of mine. So I just think that I'll wrap it up here. These things should have been more adhered to. They should have been kept in mind as a design plan, and a new building was going to go through on that property of that size. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Let me go to David.
Through the chair, the good news for me is I don't have any comments at this time. I don't want to waste anybody's time, because the other members, including you, have actually, addressed, some of the comments I have. So I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So a quick summary, which includes my comments. Mr. Geitberg, I've sort of, as an urban planner myself, the regulation and that additional setback requirement, it does only apply to that area, sort of, we'll call it from the chimney back, as required from the rear wall of 79 child. I struggle to see why that couldn't be met. If we were looking at an irregular shaped lot, for example, a reverse pie, for example, I can see, because of lot configuration, that kind of thing, we might consider an encroachment, but a lesser one than what you're suggesting here. I have one question for you, and the question is, and you did very briefly mention it, that you sat down with your client and had a number of designs, but they came back and suggested to you that this was what they absolutely wanted. When you were doing the other designs, did the other designs actually take into account this variance that we are reviewing? In other words, did you try and work around this?
Yes, actually, through Mr. Chair, when I mentioned that we started with a different design, with narrower house and with garages at basement level. So the reason we took this route is because there is a house on the street which built exactly like that, And we thought that since it's already been permitted on this street, so we may succeed with this kind of design. So now then when this design been circulated through the site plan approval process, we realized that engineering department would not support reverse driveway, because that design we propose reverse driveway. And then if reverse driveway is not supported, so then we didn't have variances for side yard setbacks, but we have large variance for the roof height, because we could not fit without reverse driveway, we could not fit the house of this type of design into the required roof height. And planner on file, she suggested that they would never ever support variance on roof height. They may compromise on side yard setbacks, but not on the roof height. So then we changed the design completely. We designed the house with garages at the main level, with deeper basement and much lower roof. So, but we made the house slightly wider, so we got the variance for side yard setback.
Right.
Basically, we follow the staff recommendation on this one.
I see. Yeah, I struggle, to understand why, to be honest with you, why we're even considering this. I think the design, because if you came in and said, look, we're using the existing foundation, we don't want to move that, but you're starting from scratch. And because you're starting from scratch, I struggle to find a reason why you can't comply with the requirements. That 3-meter setback, in my estimation, is something that the municipality put in place for a very good planning reason. And that was to ensure that the impact, where you have the kind of situation that you have between yourself and number 79, does not impact the neighbor. I think if you ask the neighbors, they would probably suggest to you that extending the house back into that rear yard, further, I don't think you impact the tree. I don't think you're going to get close to the tree. Is a lesser impact than having that part of the house that close to the property line. And I'm kind of also surprised that the dotted line that you're showing on the site plan outlining the existing house does not include the carport. I wasn't expecting, when I was looking at the drawings initially, I thought, okay, they're going beyond the existing footprint of the house, but there, lo and behold, is a carport, which my colleague was asked the question I was going to ask staff. Was it subject to a variance? Was it subject to a building permit? Did it comply at the time it was built? Or was this something that the owner at some point in time did without a permit, and is existing illegal and non-conforming?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have this knowledge.
No.
The owner of the property, my client, he just purchased this house quite recently. So whatever was built there wasn't his initiative. So it was done by previous owner, and I have no idea if it was done officially through the building permit procedure or it was.
Right. I'm going to suggest it's probably immaterial at this point, unless, of course, if the committee decides that it might be to your advantage to defer and bring something back. If you canvass me, I'm going to suggest to you that ideally, I would like to see it comply. I would prefer that the house be extended towards the rear of the property and bring it in full compliance, unless you can convince me that there is a good reason and a hardship that you've got to deal with here. I would suggest to you that I wouldn't be in a position, even on a reduced basis to support the application. That would be my position, because I do think you have an option, a viable option to go back to your client and, based on what you've heard from the committee, bring something, if you have to, back with a better justification for why you can't comply, why you cannot meet the requirements of the current regulations, because the current regulation, in my view, is there for a reason, and it's a good reason. So with that, I'm going to suggest to you that you make a request to defer the application to see if you can't bring back a design that either complies, in which case we won't see you again, or something that is more palatable. I think Daniel mentioned that if you could bring it back to, what was it, Daniel, half of the setback? That you would consider that.
Yeah, well, we have to look at it in terms of what's in front of us.
Right.
So what I mean by that is there's overall issues, and I made the comment that something over here is impacted because of what you have to do over there. But I'd be more inclined, and maybe I'll make the comment. I apologize, I won't answer directly, but strategically. What I will say is, you've heard my concerns and they haven't been overcome. So
Okay.
Maybe I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Stephen, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a general comment, just so that if we do defer, that my position is on record here. You've raised a good point, Mr. Geitberg. You're not going. You're permitted to even go closer, where they're in other areas, and it's only this portion beyond the rear wall of that one side. So I honestly, I struggle. I don't see the hardship, and I struggle why the house couldn't be made, why it has to be uniform all the way, why you couldn't have a little jog in of 1.2 meters beyond what you're asking. And 1.2 meters for, I don't know what the distance is there. We could go back to the site plan. But it's a minor effort to comply here. You don't have to make the whole house narrow. You just have to make that rear portion that affects the backyard narrow. And the community, I can tell you, is not comfortable with the size, the scale of the houses that are being built. Most of these are post-war 1950s, 1,200, 1,300 square foot houses. They already believe that they've compromised here. And I honestly don't see why, when, as the chair has rightly said, if you're starting from scratch, you can't comply here. So I would just like to go on the record, so that I can't speak for my committee members here, my colleagues here, but without a significant hardship here that we're trying to address, I am not in a position to negotiate here. Without a hardship, I would like to stick to the bylaws, and that's my position only, but I do want to make that clear. Thank you.
And I appreciate that, Steve. I think I'm saying the same thing. I think we would, and I'm seeing other people nodding their head here. I don't think under these circumstances, given the amount of objection that we've heard, and what the residents in this area have seen, would be very well supported in the community. And we struggle sometimes because we want to make sure that the people who are ultimately moving into the new home to be built are going to be in a position to get along with their neighbors and assimilate into the community with open arms. And I struggle with this one myself. So I'll leave it in your hands, Mr. I don't think that you're going to get a support on this particular application, Mr. Kuiper, and I'll leave it up to you. If you would like to request that the committee defer, that would give you the opportunity to bring something back. Or we can vote on this if you insist that we consider it.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think I would take your advice and ask for deferral, because if we find the way to comply with the bylaw, as you mentioned, we are not coming back then, but at least deferral will give me a chance to, in case my client want to reduce variance or to come with some alternatives, at least it will give me a chance to come back and discuss it with you once again.
Yeah, without having to reapply and all of that.
Yeah.
The application is still open.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a request then from the applicant, members of the committee, to defer as opposed to consider the application before us. So I would welcome that if there is a motion then to defer. Steve, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move with respect to minor variance application 2022-22 Norospor at 81 Child Drive that we defer the application to a meeting of at a later date, should the applicant come back with a choose to come back.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Seconded by David. Thank you very much. We'll call the question. All of those in favor of the motion to defer? That carries. Thank you. So we're going to defer this for you, Mr. Geitberg, to go back to your client. And I think you've got enough feedback from members of this committee to take that message back. And I wish you luck. And hopefully the goal is to bring it into conformity with the bylaw. If not, then you know what criteria we would be using to review a subsequent application or a subsequent proposal. So thank you very much for your indulgence. I do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. Now, we've been at this for 2 hours, members of the committee. Is there anyone on the committee that would benefit from a bio break at this point? Or is everyone still good to continue? Thumbs up from Daniel. I guess we're all thumbs up. Okay, great. Thank you. The next item on the agenda for consideration is minor variance application for, I believe it's Stangl at 141 Kennedy Road. This is minor variance application 2022-20. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate a garage addition and driveway width increase. The following relief is being requested. A, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard of 4.5 meters. The applicant is proposing a garage addition, which is 1.9 meters to the interior side property line. And B, section 5.6.1 sub A double I of the zoning bylaw allows a maximum driveway width of 10 meters if the lot frontage is 18 meters or greater, with the exception that the maximum driveway at the street line shall not exceed 6 meters. The applicant is proposing a driveway width of 18 meters. So the applicant's stated reason for not complying with the bylaw, the setback, the adoption of zoning bylaw 6000-17 created a non-conforming situation of the east side setback. The existing building does not meet the 4.5 meters required setback. Additionally, the east wall of the house was not originally built parallel to the east property line, enhancing this. With regards to the width of the driveway, a review of the survey reveals the driveway is in fact only 12.99 feet wide for the first 277 feet. With restricted parking on Kennedy West, the owners required parking for guests as well as space to maneuver vehicles. The visual impact of the space in question is negligible from all surrounding properties, and it is impossible to see from anywhere on Kennedy West. So with regards to planning's comments and the general intent of the official plan, given that no additional density is being added to the site, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the intent of the official plan. B, the proposed variance meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Here, the proposed driveway extension is to facilitate accessibility in and out of the subject property. There are 3 mature trees within the location of the proposed driveway extension. The Parks Department have provided conditions related to trees on the property should the application be approved. Staff have reviewed the driveway extension and are of the opinion that the current driveway are narrow with an approximate width of 3.6 meters or 12 feet, making it difficult to exit the property in a vehicle. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. With regards to the desirability for the appropriate development of the land, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are desirable and appropriate for the development of the land. And staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are minor in nature and provide easier maneuverability of vehicles in and out of the property. Additional comments. Building Division had the zoning review completed on May 19th. Engineering Division comments provided stating no objections to it, provided that the applicant shall provide a site grading and drainage plan prepared by a professional engineer or qualified engineering professional, demonstrating that the drainage pattern at the site has been maintained and the structure and any associated grading work completed at the site shall not cause adverse impacts on the drainage to the adjacent properties. And from operational services, their comments include that the owner may be required to provide an evaluation report prepared by a certified arborist or professional registered forester outlining all aspects of the impacts that the proposal will have on existing and current remaining vegetation. And further, that a report shall include a schedule of monitoring the ongoing site work through a series of scheduled visits to the site by the arborist or forester during and post-construction to ensure vegetation preservation measures remain in compliance throughout the project, and that the owner may be required to provide vegetation compensation and a replanting plan in accordance with the Town of Aurora tree removal, pruning, and compensation policy. And further, that the owner shall agree to comply with the Aurora tree permit bylaw 5850-16 prior to the removal of any trees, and that the owner shall agree to provide financial securities based on the total value of the tree compensation evaluation, and all arboricultural works as defined by the town and the owner's arborist forester. Operational services, no comments were received. Central York Fire Services, no comments or concerns with the application. York Region, no comments received. LSRCA, no comments, as it is not regulated by the LSRCA under OREG 179-06. Electric utilities, comments are provided stating no objection. And on this application, no written submissions were received at the time of writing of the report. Appendix A includes recommended conditions of approval, 1 through 3. And Daniel, I see your hand up. Sorry, I wasn't looking at that computer at the time. I apologize.
No worries. And I was checking my notes, so this might have been brought up. I just wanted to bring it up in case it hasn't, that the subject of this minor variance has the wrong address. So if it hasn't been brought up, it states 141 Kennedy Road, which is a different house than 141 Kennedy Street West.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I've put a note on my copy here and I just missed it when I was going through. So duly noted. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't believe that would affect staff's report on this application. So I think we're good. I think all of the notices and circulation on the application were done in accordance with the Planning Act for this one. But I will ask staff before we go to the applicant if from their position, the agenda reads 141 Kennedy Street West. The staff report reads 141 Kennedy Road. Are there any implications to us reviewing this application based on that correction? Sean, any comment on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't believe so. As long as the notice is correct, it would appear that, as pointed out, this is just a typo on the report itself. But if the notice is correct, I don't believe there are any implications and that we could proceed.
Okay. Public correspondence did have, I apologize for jumping in, Mr. Chair, but just to confirm on that point. So public correspondence would have had 140 Kennedy Street West.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, are you referring to the notice?
The notice or any other, if there was subsequent exchanges.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. The notice is 141 Kennedy Street West. It does read 141 Kennedy Street West.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, Daniel, for bringing that forward. So I think we're okay on this one. I believe we have Mr. Mark Watson, who is the agent with us this evening. So Mr. Watson, if we can get your title and your address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. It's Weston, as in Weston Road.
Right. Sorry.
That's okay. We're all tired at this time of night.
No, I was thinking of a very good friend of mine whose name is Mark Watson. Anyway, my apologies.
That's all right. No problem at all. So to read, what did you ask me to do initially?
Just your title and your address, please.
I am the agent for the owner, Mr. and Mrs. Stengel, and my address is 60 Manor Glen Crescent in Mount Albert.
Terrific. You're my neighbors. You're my son's neighbor. Okay, very good. You're on the same street. Okay, so please go right ahead and welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm assuming that ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the late hour. I'm assuming you'd like to know the reason for the two variances that we're chasing here. The first one I'll deal with is the side yard setback to the northeast corner of the building. If any of you have had an opportunity to look at the site plan, the original building, the east wall of the building is not parallel to the property line. So any extension to the north automatically takes us towards the property line. And the homeowners do need a third garage bay on the house, which is giving me no option but to project northeast and resulting in the property line setback that you see on that site plan.
Okay.
And the second variance that we're requesting is on the site plan. You'll see it's an unusual piece of property, very long, skinny driveway that opens up into a nice piece of property. But in coming down the laneway, the homeowner has been surprised several times by uninvited guests, etc., appearing at her front door. So they are going to put up a gate back as part of this project. And there are two reasons for the wide driveway where it's located on that site plan. One is they want to create a parking spot for guests and delivery vehicles. And the other is there is an easement, an existing easement attached to the property that I'm told by the surveyor and the owner's lawyer, they're required to have some space for the neighbor of 145 to back out and turn around. And they want to make sure that they accommodate those easements.
Do we have a copy of those easements?
The easement is referenced on the survey. Whether or not, just excuse me, Mr. Chair, I'm just looking to see. No. My apologies. The easement is not on the site plan that I created. The easement is on the survey that the surveyor did for the property a little over a year ago. There are several easements attached to this property.
Okay. Okay.
So all of this is in keeping with that easement and the owners wanting to create space for parking. You can appreciate it's some 200 feet out to Kennedy. So for guests to come in and there is no parking on Kennedy. So they want to create a situation where guests can come in, have a place to park and not interrupt the neighbor's driveway if they do. Did one of the committee members bring my survey up on the screen, or did I do that?
No, that was brought up by staff.
So that survey there shows several easements there's out there. I don't know which one of those easements is the one that requires the Stangles to maintain space for the neighbor to back out. Now, the fact of the matter is that easement we believe was created prior to 145 having a circular driveway, that they in fact don't back out anymore. They just spin around in their driveway.
Which is what I did today.
Right. Oh, were you on site today?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, okay. So the easement is there, but no longer being utilized.
Okay. All right. So, okay, that's terrific. I appreciate your comments. I do not believe that there is anyone here from the public who wishes to address the committee. Therefore, I can turn this over to members of the committee for comment and discussion. I know I've got a few questions now then, but I'll defer to my colleagues on the committee. Anyone wish to comment or question this particular application? Or maybe what I'll do is I'll kick it off, and I might end up in my discussion asking some rather pointed questions here to the applicant. Mr. Weston, why couldn't the garage addition, why couldn't that have been pushed, I'll call it forward, or to the west? You know, it would create a bit of a horseshoe, but it would bring that setback much closer to the encroachment that the existing garage has. I know straight lines make for easy construction, but was there a reason why we couldn't pull that part of the structure forward? There would still be an internal connection between the existing structure and the garage addition. Was that looked at?
Oh, it was. And in order to bring it far enough west to be compliant with the setback, the new garage addition ended up in front of the front door, and they could no longer see down the driveway north to any vehicles that would be coming in. We did explore that.
You did, okay. I can understand, you know, identifying with the front of the house. You know, that to me, that's a valid argument. When I arrived there, I noticed that it for some reason it just did. I couldn't see the reason for that wide section, that turnaround that you referred to in the gates, being where they're shown, because when I originally came in, I actually did go to the neighbor and noticed he had a full turnaround on the very wide driveway there. So the fact that you're mentioning a servitude that requires a turnaround, my suggestion is that could be certainly amended and removed. And if the neighbor there said, well, I don't need it anymore. So, you know, if this is an imposition on you to provide this button hook, you know, for lack of a better word, I'm sorry, beyond the gate, I would suggest it really isn't required. And again, why wouldn't you push the driveway in front of the existing garage, again, further west, you know, so that someone coming out of the garage doesn't have to back all the way down an S driveway into that loop to turn around and leave, because that would be the only purpose that would serve. Why not move the driveway a little bit further to, or expand the driveway further to the west and leave a more normal or a more aesthetic, in my opinion, driveway leading out to Kennedy? It'd be easy for anybody to turn around. Deliveries, well, now you're requiring whoever's making a delivery to make his way or their way from, you know, 150 odd feet from where their van or their delivery vehicle is to the front door. You know, I don't even see the need to have that keyhole where it is at all.
The homeowner also wants to accommodate guests, and there is no parking on Kennedy. Clearly, there's no parking on the long stretch of driveway because that would block the neighbor. So to have a space there that serves both parking for relatives and guests that come to the house, as well as stopping unsolicited people from coming to the house with the gate. These are the motivations behind putting that space there.
But wouldn't guests be able to park, you know, within the property, you know, it well inside the gates? You've got, you know, approximately what, 150, so maybe 100 feet of driveway there, plus the pad itself. I mean, you could certainly, if you've got guests over, your cars are parked in the garage, you've got 42 feet by 46 feet, make it, 60 feet to the west, and you've got ample space there to park guests. My goodness. Anyway, those are my comments. I just don't. I can understand the garage now. That makes some sense to me. I understand why you'd want to keep that front door, and entry open, visibly. So the garage addition there, that seems to have some justification. I just the whole keyhole didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, even when I was there today. I pulled right up into the driveway there, and right up against the house, I was able to turn my SUV around and drive straight out without any difficulty at all. And with your neighbor next door, who has a beautiful property with a long driveway that's unique to that property, with a massive turnaround, which is what I did when I first arrived. I just fail to see the need for for the asphalt that close to the Kennedy side. Those are my comments, and I don't know if any of my colleagues want to ask any questions or comment. Daniel.
Thank you, through the chair. Actually, I just wanted to sort of expand on a question from Tom, and that has to do with the new garage. So the premise of what I'm going to ask is, why does the new garage have to be bigger than the existing garage? And Tom's already asked why we couldn't move it towards the driveway. And there's a good answer, the door. However, it already seems to be, and unfortunately there's no scale, so it looks to be about 3 feet that it's already coming out. So if you made the garage the same depth as the existing garage, you could reclaim 3 feet at the bottom. And no, it wouldn't make you 100% in compliance with the setback, but at least they would bring you closer. There's
honestly,
that hardship again that goes with the previous comments, that you obviously can move it up 3 feet. So in my mind, you should move the bottom up 3 feet to be in compliance. Sorry, I think you were going to start answering, and I just wanted to get that final clarification in.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the comment. Honestly, it makes for poor architecture. The folks aren't going to go through all of this. Part of my job is form and function. I'm faced with its functionality. The existing garages are very tight front to back, and the aesthetic of it. It would create the closer we get, that jog that you're referring to is 2 feet. And the closer we get to bringing that back, we wanted to avoid a long flat wall. It's just, in this instance, the house has very peculiar idiosyncrasies. And I wanted to, the jog is there to give them a deeper, more proper depth garage, and to create better architecture for the final design of the home.
But don't you end up with a 36-foot wall with having it as one single wall from the endpoint of the new garage all the way to, sorry, the room isn't identified, but there's where the nook is, we're maybe 2 feet into past the existing garage. But that whole section, once again, I just got to use thumb and measure my thumbs, but it seems to be a good 36 feet. So if your concern is having a long wall, having one, you're creating that by going new garage, old garage, and a little bit of the house.
We have, I'm just looking off to the left here at the site plan that or the floor plan that I provided. Where is the 36-foot straight wall on what I've created?
Can I ask the town to bring up the plan, again, the one that's in the final document. Appendix B, site plan, page 1.
There's
Please.
also a floor plan.
Yeah, but this one here shows what I want,
Yes.
which is this, the outside. So if we zoom in to the 2 garages, and thank you to staff for the supporting. So if you go from the let's just say north is straight up on this. I know there's the event at the top there, but so if you're going from southeast, that where the 6-22 3/4 is, and then you keep going westward, you're going the new garage, you're going existing garage, and then you go to that part where the actual home goes southwards. You already have a stepping feel to that wall, but that whole wall is 36 feet. Approximately. Once again, I'm using thumbs to measure that 12 foot that I'm seeing at the bottom there, and I'm just using it, and I'm getting 3 thumbs. So I'm guessing about 36 feet. So new garage, old garage, and a little bit of the house. That's a 36-foot run, approximately.
So, and are you suggesting that I draw that I remove the 2-foot jog?
Well, I'm just questioning or asking, and maybe the question is architecturally wouldn't make sense, but I'm just looking at adding more compliance. That's my main question. So what I'm asking is, because you've raised the new garage up 2 feet, could you raise the bottom up 2 feet, give yourself a little bit more compliance, making it 8 feet and 2 3/4 foot setback, and then you already have a zigzag, not a zigzagging, but a stepping feel to it. So you would just have it step again. You have new garage, it steps down 2 feet, old garage, and a little bit more, and then it comes down again. Architecturally, does that work?
Architecturally, it really doesn't. There's a partial second floor going on. The east and west walls of the second floor are recessed in from what you're looking at. They're not as broad as the footprint on the property. Okay. And if I have to start dealing with those types of offsets on the floor below, architecturally, this will be honestly a nightmare.
Okay. And that's a sufficient answer. I guess I was looking at it from footprint as opposed to whole home, which is, yeah. So I appreciate Mr. Weston, your input. That makes sense to me, and it alleviates my concerns and questions. So I'm good to go back to you, Tom, Mr. Chair. I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I know what you were getting at there. I pulled out the actual application drawings as well and had a look at it myself. I did take a minute, Mr. Weston, to have a look at the second floor above that. It would involve a fair amount. I won't say a fair amount, but some redesign there, and I can understand that this actually makes sense. Yeah, this is again one of those situations where we're dealing with an existing house on a very irregular lot, and the properties there. I don't think anybody on the committee would disagree that they're gorgeous properties. They're very well maintained, and I understand, that the garage is only part of the whole project. There are other modifications that are being proposed that we don't need to look at. They're not subject to variances, but I can understand what your goal here is. Any other comments from other members of the committee? Linda, go right ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to ask a couple questions, just because it's hard to figure out. There's a lot of hardscaping going on there. in that whole front part. And there already is some there, but it's interlock, and then it's the sidewalk, and then it's the driveway. So I see everything's getting expanded. You're gonna, there's a, once again, I'm gonna go back to this. There's a massive tree beside the garage. I'm assuming that is gonna come down. There's two trees there. There's a large one, and then there's a smaller one in front of it. They are right, according to the plans I'm looking at, right where your new garage is going to go. I see there's a couple that have come down, most likely through the storm that we had a couple weeks back. There was so much destruction in Aurora for that. But all the evergreens that come in on the drive in, are they all remaining there, or are you widening anything in there too and have to take them away as well? I'm not sure, because they
No. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Elena, for the question. Are you referring to the evergreens on the long straight stretch of?
Absolutely, yeah.
The owners want to take down as little as possible of the foliage that's on the property, and they really don't want to. In fact, that driveway that comes in from Kennedy is almost entirely on the property of 141, but there's enough land there where, in fact, both 141 and 145 could each have their own path of asphalt. And the owners of 141 don't want 145 to add any more asphalt. They're happy to share the driveway as they are. And as a result, all of that, those evergreens you're referring to, they're all intended to stay.
Okay, they're through the chair. They're mostly on it looked like on 141's property anyway, because it comes right up to the house. There's probably about 10 of them on each side of the driveway, the existing driveway as it is. So none of them have to go. It's just now so it's the ones that are right where the new garage is going would have to come down, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And what was my other one? Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering what was happening, because it was hard to figure it all out from the plans, when you step on it. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Weston.
Pleasure.
Steve, please go right ahead.
Yeah, and thank you. I'll be brief here, and I think it's just I think my perspective is consistent with what I've said all night. Here clearly, to you, Mr. Chair, I think you made a very good point. We're working with an existing footprint. We're not starting from scratch. I understand where the hardship is. I understand where the challenges are. It's a very unique property. Linda, I think you raised some good points in terms of the green space. And here, when I look at the variances that are being requested, I'm certainly not an architect. I'm not going to, second guess the architectural design. I do see the need. I do understand the intent. I do understand the challenges. And so I'm going to try and, look at it from a planning perspective, and whether it's what I would do or not in terms of aesthetics or design, I think that the greenscape and the foliage is going to be maintained as much as possible. It's a unique orientation. I do see the hardship, and really, when I look at the impact to the neighbors, I see it as minor. And for those reasons, I am comfortable with this application.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
David, any comments?
Yeah, I have comments and maybe I would say questions. I would say thank you. Actually, you say for the chair, you asked the two main questions I had about the garage and about the driveway safe. But I'm just going to ask also similar questions to that. Just to the agent, I can see you got that sort of hallway porch or called the vestibule addition. Does it mean the existing garage is going to be reduced?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The existing it is the most bizarre, the existing garage through you, Mr. Chair. My apologies. The existing garage is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. If I don't know what SUV you drive, Mr. Chair, but if you were to pull the SUV into the garage, you couldn't open the back. It hits the ceiling. the ceiling, there's just enough room for a small garage door to roll up in there. So what we are doing is we are part of the existing garage. I mean, cost matters here. Part of the existing garage, if you look at the floor plan, is becoming a new storage room, and they have no storage in this house. This whole east side of the house has no basement under it. It's slab on grade from north to south. So I'm creating some main floor storage for them. And then half of the existing garage, we are lowering the floor so that they've got some reasonable garage ceiling height in there. You couldn't have said it more succinctly, Steve, when you indicated that we've got some unique characteristics to this house. We do. So part of the existing garage is becoming badly needed storage, and the other part of it will remain parking, but we have to lower the floor for its future use. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Basically, I just wanted to confirm. The other question I have, again, is about what the chair asked already, but just to ask more about it. And like I was expecting for you to expand the driveway, just in front of the of the garages, for two reasons. And the one other, maybe another one you have to explain. Well, for one reason, which the chair already mentioned, is close there. You just come to the garage and you just back up, you just reverse, and it's within that area, and then you drive away. Rather than if you have to, of course, there seems to be enough space there to do a 3.10 of some sort. You reverse, and then you reverse to the house, and then maybe there's much space there, then you move forward a little bit, and then you go to the driveway. But that's what I was expecting, that probably you would expand that area, in front of the driveway. So, but you had your other reasons. Now, when I looked at the, if you maybe the staff can again present the drawing, the survey plan, I think, showing the easements and so on. If you don't mind, staff, to show that drawing, showing, I think it's in ARA, maybe it's an ARA plan or just a survey plan, I'm not sure. You talked about easements. So my question related to that is, yes, you got sort of, I think you said you have sort of mutual easements. If you zoom in a little bit, yeah, that area where you got an area, zoom in a little bit, yes, around that area there. Yeah, if you go, yeah, so with you palm, if you go down where the, yes, around that, yeah, just to the left of your palm, yes, around that area there. Okay, the easements there, yes, around that area. Thank you. I think you know what I want to ask about. So you talk about you got the mutual easements there approximately, but I'm trying to wonder if you're expanding that area. Have you talked to the owner, to the other owner, in terms of agreeing? Because I can see from what you are proposing, you are widening sort of north-south, that area very close to the intersection where maybe we have the mutual easements, but you're also expanding to the east, which is okay to be maybe within your client's property. But my question is, have you liaised with the other owner regarding this type of work within that area of the mutual easement?
Have we talked to the, we aren't, through you, Mr. Chair, my apologies. To the best of my knowledge, we aren't negatively affecting the easement. We are only enhancing it.
Okay, I can see different parts of the other plan, the 65 other plans, but you are not sure which one is an easement. So my assumption, I would say, let's say Okay, they have the same instrument, same instrument number. Okay, part 9, part 8 and part 9. Should we assume that those are the two easements, mutual easements with the neighbor?
Though I honestly do not know which of those easements is the one that the surveyor, Graham Jenkins, I don't know which one he identified as required for turnaround for the neighbor.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'll just leave it there. It to be, I think you are your owner, I mean your client and the town eventually to resolve. I know that I deal with these mutual easements, access easements, almost every 2 weeks with problems in my other job. So I know what is involved. So that's why I was asking this. But these mutual easements, access easements. But I'll leave this to you and your client and maybe the town. You may need to resolve it later on, or maybe it has already been resolved. So that is just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So if you can bring us back to the entire committee. If you can see this, I'm going to put something up here. You might be able to see that.
Yes,
And actually,
yes.
So this is my note from being out there today. So my idea or my suggestion to you was expand the driveway in front of the extended garage and then the existing, and give yourself all kinds of room to turn around, all kinds of room for guests to park, and get rid of that, keyhole out front. I don't know, staff, if measuring the driveway and if it was expanded, would we require a minor variance for what I'm showing there? I'm not sure. Obviously, that driveway is much bigger and it's almost ideal for a basketball court, but that's an aside. But that's the point that I was trying to make earlier, Mr. Weston, and I don't know if that had been looked at all in light of the fact that you're telling us about this easement. I would have preferred something more like that than what you've shown in your drawing. But if other members of the committee are okay, with that 18 meters, I'm prepared to go along with it, but I would have preferred something different. And I would have, without that easement and your comment, I would have asked the committee to separate these two variances and vote on them separately, because I probably wouldn't have supported that 18-meter width in that location the way you're showing it, for the reasons that I stated: distance from the house for deliveries, availability of parking on a very long driveway, even if it wasn't expanded all that much. But I'll see what the committee comes forward with. I see Steve, you've got your hand up there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think that's a good point, because I as I was listening to all the comments, I sort of revised my own opinion here, and one of the comments by Mr. Weston that explained it was that I think the applicant intends to put a gate there, and there are a few people that come up to their house and end up sort of maneuvering in front of their house, and there's some bother, and I can understand that, because that driveway, as you said yourself, you ended up at the neighbors by mistake, right? So the aspect of the gate was something that sort of resonated with me, and if you put a gate there, and as you've suggested, it's very narrow, that leads anybody mistakenly coming up or delivery and nobody's home with a delivery truck, then they're left with either backing up all the way to Kennedy or going to the neighbor and using their turnabout. So I believe, and if I've understood correctly, the intent of that little keyhole is to facilitate a gate that stays closed and allows people to sort of to turn around. So the point's well taken from the committee members. The neighbor doesn't need it. There is an easement there, but the neighbor doesn't need it. They've got enough space. They've got the turnabout. And I was studying sort of the aerial view and the site plan. I understand your point, and had there not been an intention for the gate to be there, I would understand that. I think the gate, at least in my mind, changes the need for that second wide area. And I get back to what I was saying earlier. I don't think it impacts anyone else. And that was the criteria that I was looking from a planning perspective and an impact. Would it be what I do? It's irrelevant. I think as long as the applicant is comfortable with it, as long as from a planning perspective, we don't have any concerns and there aren't any impact on community and neighbors, that at least that was my rationale for saying, look at it strictly from a planning perspective, Steve. Where are we here?
Perfect. Yeah, I think the gate does make a difference, Steve, and it doesn't affect, as you mentioned, the neighbors or the view from the street. I would tend to agree with you. I would say that we're probably at a point where we can look for a motion on the application for these variances. So I'll turn to the committee. Is there a motion with regards to these applications? David. He's disappeared.
Do you see my face?
No. We know you're there.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I don't want to show anybody my basement. Unfinished basement.
I used to have pink insulation behind me, David. You're not alone.
So anyways, through the chair, I move that minor variance application MV-2022-20 be approved as stated in the staff's report, including the conditions therein. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Is there a seconder? Linda. And with that, I'll call the question. All of those in favor? And that carries. So, Mr. Weston, we've discussed this one and we've gone over it thoroughly, and you've got support from the committee. So I'll thank you for being with us as long as you have and wish you a pleasant evening.
Could I, through you, Mr. Chair, could I ask one question?
Sure.
I believe I have heard, and I thank the committee for the decision. We appreciate it. I believe I've heard there's 3 conditions attached to this.
Yes.
What are those?
Oh, and normally what I do is I usually ask you if you've seen those conditions. Yeah, the 3 conditions, they relate to number 1, that the variance only applies to the subject property in substantial conformity with the plans. That's number 1. Number 2, so this basically reads as I read in the preamble all of those concerns that were raised by the staff. So, for example, that an evaluation be prepared by a certified arborist or professional registered forester may be required. So that when you get to your permit, they may be asking for that. That includes in the report, an item that addresses scheduling of visits during and post construction to ensure that vegetation that's there be protected. Mm-hmm. And that the owner may be required to provide a vegetation compensation and replanting plan. That's, again, something that goes along with these types of variances and conditions. you'd have to comply with the Aurora tree permit bylaw. You'd also have to, so whenever you want to cut down a tree, you have to get a permit to do that.
Yes,
And you'll get all of these in the decision from staff.
thank you.
Further, that you may, that you will be agreed to provide financial securities based on the total value of the tree compensation evaluation report. So if you're planning on planting a dozen trees that are worth $10,000, you might be required, or you will be required to provide financial securities that covers that in the event that you don't do it. We all know landscape plans are the first thing that gets cut when the construction goes through the roof, or they get delayed.
A landscape architect has already been engaged.
There you go. And hopefully he says, come on, we got to get this in accordance with the drawings. And that all of the above be included in a letter of undertaking. And then the third condition, that the applicant provide a site grading plan and drainage plan prepared by an engineer. And that has to do with all of that drainage that's going to be affected by what you're doing with the house itself and the driveway that you're going to be creating, so that we don't end up with problems with water on neighbors' property and affecting their drainage. Those are the three conditions.
Thank you. Understood.
All right. And so that's part of our approval, as mentioned in the motion. And as I said, you'll get that with the official decision from the committee through staff.
Wonderful. All right.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Pleasure, and have a good evening.
Thank you. And you, thank you, committee.
I'll know who to say hi to when I see you on my son's street.
Who is your son?
His name is Scott. He's a firefighter here in town. And he moved onto your street probably around the same time you did. It's a brand new street. It's lovely.
Oh, it's a lovely street. We love it here.
Yeah. Terrific. Enjoy.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the last item. This is minor variance application for Chin. It's 1622 Vandorf Side Road. Minor variance is MV 2022-21. And this application, the owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a 3-story single detached dwelling. And the following relief is being requested. A, section 17.1.1 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 10 meters. The applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story single detached dwelling with a height of 12.5 meters. And B, section 17.1.3 of the zoning bylaw states that new single residential dwelling on existing lots will only be permitted through a minor variance. The applicant is proposing to construct a new 3-story single detached dwelling on an existing lot. The applicant's stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw are: the architectural design features huge green roof and rooftop solar panel, which is enjoyable and also needs a lot of maintenance. It further states that it is both functional as well as aesthetic to add a small area of covered space on top of roof, comma. This adds extra 2.5 meters to overall building height. I'm reading it verbatim from the application, so it sounds a little bit chopped, but that is how it reads. With regards to the proposed variance meeting the general intent of the official plan, the proposed development represents a modest increase in the maximum permitted height for the dwelling. Sorry, my screen is jumping around a little bit here. Given the context of the surrounding area, no visual impact or privacy issues is anticipated as a result of the proposed development. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the official plan. But with regards to the zoning bylaw, staff in consultation with the LSRCA have confirmed that the proposed development will not result in any adverse impacts to the Oak Ridges moraine or any features on the subject lands. The requested height increase is also not expected to result in any visual impacts or incompatibility issues. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. With regards to the appropriate development of the property, must be getting late. My computer is jumping around here. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed variance is desirable and appropriate development of the property. And with regards to the variance being minor in nature, the proposed height is not considered to be an egregious increase from the zoning standard, and the additional height will occur for only a small area of the proposed building. Additional comments. Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on June 24, 2022. And Engineering Division, no comments or concerns with the proposed application. Operational Services Parks, comments stating that there are trees situated on the subject property that may require removal and may be impacted by excavation or disturbance due to demolition construction of the residence. Parks staff recommend that the committee impose the following conditions if the application is approved. These are similar to what we have seen throughout the evening, but I'll just briefly summarize that the owner may be required to provide an evaluation report prepared by a certified arborist or professional registered forester. In addition, the report shall include a schedule of monitoring the ongoing site works through a series of scheduled site visits by the arborist or forester during and post-construction to ensure that the vegetation preservation measures remain in compliance throughout the project, that the owner also be required to provide a vegetation compensation and replanting plan in accordance with the Town of Aurora's tree removal, pruning, and compensation policy, that the owner shall agree to comply with the Aurora Tree Permit Bylaw 5850-16 prior to the removal of any trees, and that the owner shall agree to provide financial securities based on the total value of the tree compensation evaluation and all arboricultural works as defined by the town and the owner's arborist or forester, and that a letter of undertaking with the Town of Aurora be prepared to guarantee compliance with the conditions of approval and all related site works. Operational Services Public Works, no comments received. Central York Fire Services, comments provided stating that there are no comments or concerns with the proposed application. York Region has completed its review of the application and will defer to the LSRCA for any comments, requirements related to natural heritage, including natural hazards, i.e. flood hazard, and that's dated June 17th, 2022. LSRCA comments provided stating the proposal is consistent and in conformity with the natural heritage and natural hazard policies of the applicable provincial, regional, and local plans. On this basis, LSRCA recommend that any approval of this application be subject to the following condition. And that is that the owner shall pay the LSRCA plan review fee in accordance with the approved fees policy. That's A. B, that the owner shall obtain a permit under the Ontario Regulation 179-06 prior to the proposed development and site alteration taking place. C, that the owner shall provide a detailed planting plan for the required minimum vegetation protection zone to the natural heritage features. And D, that the owner shall provide a detailed grading plan and erosion plan. And there are some guideline notes that are also part of the staff report. I will not go into those in detail. Electra, no concerns with the proposed minor variance. At the time of the writing of the report, there were no submissions. However, the committee received notification that a letter of report was received from the owner of 1658 Van Dorp Side Road. So there is a letter of support for this application. I see the applicant is, or the owner is here and represented by Peter Kai, who is the agent, and Rebecca Chin, who is the owner. So I'll welcome both of you, and who is going to address the committee first?
I thank you, Chairs. Yeah.
So Peter, if I can ask you to identify, give us your address and for the record, please.
Okay, my address is 234 Willow Dusk Street in Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir. So you're happy that we're doing this via a Zoom meeting as opposed to you having to be here.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Welcome. Is there a presentation that you wish to make this evening?
Oh, yes. I think Peter Fan will help me to show the presentation. Okay. Good evening, chairs. And this project is kind of special for me because the owner like contemporary design, and they want to have a like a Zen feeling. So I think this design is very exciting, and I'm quite excited to have the opportunity to do the design. And Peter, can you please go to the next page? This is just, I think it's just the location of the project. We see it's the environment, the surroundings are very beautiful, surrounded by golf courses and very, very big, fancy rural houses. Please go to next. Yeah, this is a quite large property, and the depth is almost 400 meters, and the frontage is 100 meters. And the house is, the existing house is at the northwest corner of the property. It's hard to see from the street. Next, please. Yeah, just the existing house is quite old, and the condition is not great, but the landscape is fabulous, and this is a very rare property, has such beautiful landscape. You can see the ponds, the creeks runs through the property. There are the windows of the existing house are quite small because the older design, and I think it's a waste of the landscape with such small windows. So Peter, please go to next. Yeah. Okay. Also, this is within the conservation authority regulated, but you see the left, down left corner. We try to locate the new house on the existing house footprint try to minimize the impact of the surroundings. So hi, Peter, can you please go to next? I try to make the presentation quick. It's too late now. Yeah, so this.
Take your time, Peter.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, this is a review from top of the house. So we can see that there's a pond at the east, and also the creek actually runs around the house to the south. Please go to the next. So this is a proposed new building footprint. I want to use this to show that we try to limit the new house as close as possible to the existing footprint, and to minimize the impact to the beautiful landscape. Please go to next. Okay, this is the view from the southeast. This house is basically because the view, I try to maximize glass area, so we can see the floor to ceiling windows. It has a very contemporary look, and all the rooms has a very each room has a very big window and some corner windows. Try to maximize the view from the inside. Please go to next. Yeah, also this is another angle taller. So I also try to, you see because the existing building already built at a high ground, so I didn't change the grade. The first floor grade is basically similar to the existing grade, but now I tried just to remove a little bit of the soil to expose the basement, so the basement also have a very nice view to the outside. Please go to next. Okay, this is the view from the entrance. So I try to use some simple geometry to do the, to make the building looks articulation. That's why you see the staircase. It's a vertical element to compare to the the horizontal building. So otherwise, if the staircase is the same height as the building looks flat. So that's why I try to use the staircase to become a statement of the design. And I try to use very simple materials. One is the like polished stone facade, and in contrast, the staircase and the garage and some small elements, I use natural rough stone, and the big windows and some wood siding to make it like the more natural element. Please go next. Okay, this is the material selection for this building. All the materials I try to make looks contemporary, and also has some nature feeling. Use wood and the nature stone, and for the canopy and some to talk with the window, we use aluminum panel. Please go next. Okay, so roof garden is a big feature of this building because we have it's not traditional slope roof. It's all flat, so we have quite a big space on the roof. If just the roof is a waste, and also I think a green roof will make the building merge to the environment. So that's why I propose a roof garden with a very small area, just I think it's 400 or 500 square foot, the small penthouse. So people can enjoy the roof garden, also can do the daily maintenance to the roof garden. Also, we try to bring the energy efficient technologies, like installing solar panels on the roof. So that also needs some maintenance. So this is why we make the building height is 2.5 meters higher than the bylaw requirement. But I think this will make the building more valuable and more enjoyable. Please go to next. Yeah, this is the only variance. Actually, technically, it's the only variance we applied for. It's the building height. It's 2.4 meters over the requirement. Please go next. I think maybe that's all. Right. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. It's the first time to do the presentation.
You're doing very well, Peter, and you know, it looks like you've gone to an awful lot of trouble to pictorially show members of the committee, you know, what the final product is going to look like should we approve this. The other thing that I think you've done very well is you've demonstrated the purpose of the increase in height is to provide not only access to a rooftop garden, but access to the solar panels. I don't know that the solar panels will need much maintenance, but certainly that if you're going with a green roof, there is some obvious maintenance that is required there. I'll just say to Rebecca Chin, was there any comment that you wanted to add to what Peter Kai had provided, or are you okay with that?
I'm okay with everything he said.
Okay. The other thing I want to just, Peter, did you see the conditions in the staff report, and do you have any problem with those conditions?
Oh, yes. Actually, I also discussed with Conservation Authority during my design. I talked with Laura about the requirement. So I'm quite clear about what the Conservation Authority need us to do. So I'm okay with that. Yeah.
You're okay with the conditions of approval. Okay.
Yeah, we will work on that. Yeah.
There is no one here from the public registered as a delegate. So I'll go to the members of the committee for comment and question. And I suppose the other thing I should say is thank you for being with us all night long. I don't know if you've sat through all of the other applications, but I appreciate the fact that you're still with us, which is very good. I'll look to the committee then for any comments or questions. I see Steve has his hand up. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. First of all, we all do. I really take a very critical eye to ones that are within, you know, that potentially have an impact to key natural heritage features and key hydrological features. And I, you know, with that lens, I really do appreciate what you've tried to do here in terms of this is a significant increase in terms of living area, but the increased footprint is not significant. You know, I often we see these where we're demolishing a house and we're reorienting or we're changing the location of a house. And I think you've gone to great pains and you've showed us that you have maintained, or the intent here is to keep the new development out of the regulated area, which is a key point for me. There's reference in the staff report that trees may need to go down. I'm not seeing any large tree removal. Is any anticipated here?
No, because the house is trying to on top of the existing house footprint, so there is no large trees will be impacted, and all those maples around the driveway that will be protected during the construction.
Perfect. No, thank you for that. And So once again, all really good. I wanted to bring up, if we could, one more picture in your presentation, because I think it's very relevant to me. Peter, if you wouldn't mind bringing up the presentation again. There was one that showed the depiction of the property, and it showed the height in relation to the trees around it. And if you wouldn't mind bringing that up again. There was one that showed the surrounding trees right there. Thank you. So and I realize these are just renderings, but would you say that this is reasonably accurate? Because I mean, the reason I asked this, and through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Kai, the reason I asked this because we're asking for a variance of 2.4 meters on the roof. I understand the reasoning. I understand the access. I understand the roof garden. I think it's a fantastic idea. You know, and I understand that this house is set back. So when we talk about impact to neighbors, you know, relatively minimal. But what I would not like to see is, you know, if you're looking at it from a distance, you know, you're actually above the treetops of these mature trees. And this seems to imply that even if we were to grant a 2.5 or 2.4 meter variance to the height, it's still not going to stand out to the surrounding trees. Would that be an accurate assessment? Yeah.
This rendering is quite accurate, because
Okay.
when I you know, the left, you see the blue spruce. This is the existing tree we're gonna preserve, and the house, the distance with the house is, you know, actually I cannot share my own screen, but this picture I can hide the new building to see the original building. You will see it's very precise. I try to do it as precise as possible. Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you for that. And just one last question. I mean, reading the staff report, there's reference to key natural heritage features and key hydrological features. Obviously, the key hydrological features are the pond and the stream, and there's a little retention area there. And it says there will be no further, the area of disturbance will not be, I'm trying to think of the word, expanded. Obviously, you're outside of the regulated area. Am I correct in that the original footprint and even the existing house is within the 30 meter minimum vegetation protection area? Is that the original disturbance that's being referenced? That's one question. Then the second question is, what is the key natural heritage feature that's being referred to here? Do you know?
Oh, actually, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the key nature features here, but I know I'm very sure that when I do the design, we got the precise survey, and so my new building is try to overlap the existing building footprint as much as possible. So I think it should outside outside is a regulated area.
No, absolutely, and thank you for that. And I to be quite honest, seeing the property, seeing the drawings, I was struggling a little bit with the staff report, understanding what the key natural heritage feature is, or the key heritage feature is that's being. It may just be the topography of the land more than anything, and that might be it, because I honestly I'm not seeing much area for concern here. So no, I think in the interest of time, I thank you for the presentation, and thank you for your answers. And through you, Mr. Chair, that's all I have at this point.
My pleasure.
If Sean, perhaps was there anything that you can comment on there with regards to LSRCA in terms of the key natural heritage features and water?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have reviewed the report. I didn't see any specific reference made. However, as the agent had pointed out, there has been consultation with the LSRCA. They have provided their conditions, and of course, the application was circulated to the LSRCA. So I mean, obviously, their approval is their conditions need to be fulfilled. But yes, I'm sorry, I apologize. Unfortunately, I'm not able to pinpoint the feature specifically.
Again, that's probably something that's going to come up at permit time or
Right.
prior to issuance of permit. That's been my experience. There will be ample time there for LSRCA to vet any concerns that they may have. So
Right.
That detail would only be provided at a future date, but the condition is there to cover it.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. David, did your hand come up? I wasn't sure. You fade in and fade out.
Through the chair, can I just help answer the question about the heritage feature? Because those are things I deal with, almost on a most of the applications. So here, basically, you talk about the stream. So you talk about the stream, we talk about woodland around. Those are natural heritage features, which you can tell right away from now. So when we are talking about having a good vegetation protection zone, basically it helps, maintain the stream in terms of erosion, in terms of encouraging, infiltration, in terms of consolidating the soil so there's no erosion taking place, things like those. So natural heritage features for this property, just looking at the way things are, is the stream, the ponds which are associated within the what we call online ponds within the stream, and the other natural, woodland. Those are natural features they're talking about here. So I'll go to my questions. It's, I just want to say, really, the building, the design looks beautiful. I like the renderings. They really show good things, good sort of, impression of how things will look. My question is about that. If you look at one of the 2 or 3, or maybe 2 of some of the renderings showing that top part actually protruding, going up on its own. You've mentioned about roof, green roof. Those are flat, yes. And one can go to I've seen a lot of building design. You can actually walk or there are stairs to there, and you just go straight to the flat green roof. In this case, you go those areas. Maybe I don't know. Can you show the renderings, and I can mention the ones I'm looking at. They're sort of protruding. So the main reason I'm asking is, why do you have those? On one of them, it looked as if it's a sitting area sort of thing, or I'm not sure. So I want to have sort of clarification from you about the reason, because I'm seeing those protruding part is basically almost probably 2.5, 2.4 meter height, or could be even reduced. So I want to understand exactly how it is. So if you could show your presentation, I'll pinpoint the slides I'm talking about.
Okay.
So Peter, if you can bring those back up.
Yeah.
So not this one.
Yeah, goes back. There's
not this one. Maybe back. Yeah, go back. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe first,
okay.
First
yeah,
page. Maybe first page is better to show this. Yeah. The first page.
No. Okay.
This one.
Yeah. Okay. That's this one here, for example. Yeah. Okay. This one here.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing the left part and the left part of the building sort of, they're almost the same level. But you are seeing this other one column near the right one is sort of a column goes up. And then I'm seeing at the back, on the left side of that column is sort of going up. And when I looked at the other side, looks to be a sort of a sitting area. While on the roofs, on the left and right roofs, that's where you got the green roofs.
Yes.
So what I would expect is one green roofs, one can just go up stairs and go straight to the green roof. You don't need that protruding up. So I want to understand the reasoning behind that. And even the other one, I saw in one other drawing. If you go one by one again, I'll show you the other one. Move one. No, go, yeah, go. Okay, go. Okay, go. Okay, stop here. Yes, stop here. Yeah, this one or the other one. So when I'm looking at this here, and maybe the other one you're going to see, I'm seeing it as if even this one here, that top part there, that top part, it contributes to the 2 point, yes, that part there contributes to the 2.41. What's the purpose of that? What is the purpose of that intrusion?
Okay. First of all, I will explain from the aesthetical point of view. I try to make the building, to do the articulation. I wanted the building has some height differences instead of a flat geometry. So this staircase is an architectural element, a design element also, to make the building less boring and to give us some kind of a focus point of the building. Otherwise, the building will look very flat. And secondly, no matter whether we have sitting areas on top or not, as long as this element is there, the building height is over 10 meters. So I think since this both from the design point of view and functional point of view, I just take advantage of that to make it both looks nice but also very functional. Otherwise, with access to the roof, I don't see any better way, to access to the roof. Yeah, that's
so you mean you cannot access to the roof without that intrusion there? I would agree with you aspect of architectural design in terms of the look and so on. But you're talking about the stairs. I'm sorry, I'll mention this. I've been to many buildings where you go straight to the green roof, and I've attended a lot of webinars, and I've visited many in Toronto, for example, where you go up the stairs and then you walk straight to the flat area and so on. So unless that other reason you gave, probably is a good reason of, the aesthetics, not wishing to see something flat of some sort, but you're talking about stairs to go to the green roof. Maybe. Can you look at the other one? Go to the next one. Yes, so this one here. So if you look at this one here, maybe it's not this one. So here, that reason you are saying you don't want the sort of the roofs to be almost the same level, to be staggered. And that's why you have got that middle part a bit up. Is that the reason? Yeah,
the same element. Both sides of the glass curtain wall is also higher than the other portion, to make this looks, become a focus point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This one here. Yeah. So this one, both of them, one to the left and to the right. The one to the right, it shows the green roof, flat, and I can see on top there on this one on the right. It's a sort of probably sort of a ponding, maybe sort of somewhere maybe you'll be getting water to irrigate the roof. I'm not sure, but it looks inside there that you also have sort of a sitting area on top. Is that correct? Is that a correct interpretation?
Yes, there's a sitting area. You see there's glass portion next to the stair.
Okay.
So it's a very small area. It's around like 400 square foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I understand now. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Just for clarification, for the members of the committee, there was a second package that was sent out to us separately with a lot more pictures in it. And there is a drawing in the package. It's drawing A103, which provides some details on that third floor, which is approximately 755 square feet.
Oh.
And in addition, it does show a layout for that area. It is, the column in the middle does have the staircase that leads from the second floor to the third floor. It is an enclosed area. And it looks like there's a couple of couches, some tables, and some single chairs. And there is a washroom as well, a closet area and what have you, with some glazing that overlooks that garden, which is what we're seeing there. But it was, for the members of the committee, it was in that second package, and it does show you the dimensions of that part of the structure. It's not, you know, for a house of that size, it's not overpowering, but it is still 755 square feet. Relative to homes, 705 square feet. You're calling it a lounge, but it's a significant square footage relative to the home, not so much. But that is where I think we're looking at that height implication. Right. If we can go back to the committee and its normal view. Peter, thank you so much. Let me go to other members of the committee for comment or questions. Linda, any comments or questions on this one?
No, I'm good. It's fine. I think you guys have pretty well covered everything that any questions. And it looks, it's a beautiful home. It's going to look beautiful, the property, everything. The windows are magnificent on it. So I see your vision there. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Daniel?
No, my main question was comment was going to be having a little bit of a concern on the larger amount requested. But to Steve's point, it looks as though the home will be about 12 meters or a little bit more than 12 meters. And the average maple in our region is about 20 meters high. So even with the maturity that's around you, you will not have any, it won't be a problem to be seen. I drove by the area, I didn't go down the driveway, but you're not on a hill, you won't be protruding at the top of a mountain. So my concern is alleviated. That being said, next time I'm in Ottawa, I'd love to sit down with you, Peter, in terms of what are your thoughts about snow and with a flat roof. But apart from that, I'm very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my concerns related mostly, Peter, to the concerns that have been raised by the region through to the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. Having dealt with the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority on many occasions, I can tell you, if you haven't, Peter, dealt with them, they are extremely thorough. And they will put you through your paces, but they should. Parts of this part of Ontario, with the green belt and the protection of that, and Oak Ridge's moraine, they are very diligent, and I take my hat off to them for that. I think they set a very respectable standard, which I wish other parts of Ontario would also piggyback onto, but we're fortunate that they are here and that they do the job that they do, and they do it very well. and they put me through my paces on a number of occasions. So those would have been the concerns that I would have had, but you've done a very good job of of dealing with the existing site and its treatment. Location of the home, it makes a lot of sense, and I don't have any significant problems with this application. So I'm going to look to the committee then for a motion on this application. I see, Steve, you have your hand up, so please go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, with respect to minor variance application 2022-21 Chin for 1622 Van Dorst Side Road, I move that we approve the application subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Daniel, see your hand up there. Great. Calling the question. All of those in favor of the motion? And that carries. David, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I know.
You did. Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. All right. So that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
So with that, Mr. Kai and Ms. Chin, I thank you for being with us this evening. I know you waited a long time to get to your item on the agenda, but we have moved forward with your approval. So with that, I will again thank you and wish you a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that completes the applications that we have for this evening. I'll ask if there is any new business arising from this meeting or anything else for us to follow up on. Seeing none, I'll look to the committee for then a motion to adjourn. Hesitation there. Daniel, okay. Calling the question. All in favor of adjournment? And we are adjourned.